The CBC and its affiliated stations bring you the CTV network production of the Grey Cup Game, 1962.
Pleasure to work on the 1962 Grey Cup game with the great Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Great Eastern champions, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And joining us on the vast network today is my partner, Pierre Prou, who will call the play-by-play for the French network. Pierre?
Merci John et bonjour tout le monde, qu'il me soit permis de vous souhaiter la plus cordiale bienvenue à cette classique annuelle de la Coupe Grey 1962, cet après-midi à Toronto entre les Tiger Cats de Hamilton et les Blue Bombers de Winnipeg.
Hagberg went down to catch a pass, and he didn't cut. He just ran straight out and ran downfield, and he seemed to be favoring his injured ankle. I believe it was the left ankle. So perhaps this will be a very key situation, and Roger Hagberg, who is the Bomber bread and butter man. The Hamilton Tiger Cats, as far as is known, are completely intact. There they are working out. To your broadcast right and our end zone camera.
Brad, I think a lot of people are curious right now as to the numbers game that has been going on. That is, first of all, the number of people who have called for the weather forecast, and secondly, the number shuffling job that Coach Bud Grant of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers has been doing. And as you see them work in the background, if there are some numbers during the game that are not entirely familiar to you as the game progresses, don't be alarmed. It's simply that because of the injuries that Bud Grant is doing some juggling. For example, he will be going with Frank Rigney, will be wearing number 71. That is to qualify him as a pass receiver and an offensive end. Farrell Funston will be wearing number 10, and we can only suspect that they will be using Farrell Funston as a pass receiving halfback, and therefore he must wear a number under 40 in order to play in that backfield. And this has caused a lot of talk this week. And I might point out that while your picture there now is clear, with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, I got to say, unfortunately, that fog is starting to come in a little bit, and this is the thing that the weatherman said would happen. We didn't think it would. I can see out onto Lake Ontario, and it looks fairly clear out there, but while it has been hazy, it is getting just a little bit heavier, and I'm not quite as optimistic as I once was, Brad.
Well, I think this will dispel any comments of the fact that Vancouver will have that unique distinction in Canada of being the foggiest city around this time of the year. It was, you couldn't see across the field this morning or yesterday or the day before. As far as the temperatures are concerned, they're tremendous. The field is dry. This morning, as we said, you couldn't see across the field. It lifted at about 10 o'clock this morning. And now it is, as John mentioned, getting a bit hazy out there. And what would the procedure be, John, if the fog should close in once the game got going?
Well, Sid Holler explained on the pregame show that they will go as long as they can to try to complete the game. If it gets so bad, they'll have to stop and just hope that it gets better. And if it becomes impossible, then, of course, they just have to call it and try to play it another day. As you look at the crowd out there, the actual capacity for the Grey Cup game is 32,655, and tickets have been tougher to get now than any year I can remember. The attendance record for a Grey Cup game, of course, is held in Vancouver, and that was in 1955 when they had 39,000 out for that game. The Hamilton Tiger Cats with number 9, their quarterback Joe Zuger, still warming up his club, and that's the starting club. There's Jamie Caleb, number 30, one of the late-season arrivals and a great halfback, and I'm sure is going to see a lot of action today as it's the big power boys who get the big test when you come to the final game of the year. Now, the telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto.
Hello, everybody. Steve Douglas here, and along with me to comment on today's Grey Cup game is Bernie Filoni. outstanding football player in Canada in 1961. The injured quarterback of the Hamilton Ticats unable to play today. Bernie, it seems like only yesterday, but I guess it's 10 or 11 years ago, you and I sort of teamed up at the University of Maryland.
That's right, Steve. You were broadcasting the games there, and I was playing quarterback at the university then.
And playing wonderfully, too, I must say. And out in Edmonton, I did the game, the first one that you played in the Grey Cup here in Toronto.
1954. That seems a long time ago, too, Steve.
I bet it does. What about that injured knee? What is the situation, Bernie?
Well, Steve, it's coming along real well. The doctors say that it's a successful operation and that as long as I give it a lot of time and do a lot of physio exercises on it, that it's going to be well. And I'm sure that I'm going to be ready for next year.
All right, Bernie, we certainly hope so. We'll be talking to Bernie Foley throughout the ball game.
The referee, Paul Dojak, is now down there on the field with the respective captains, and the officials are prepared to make the official coin toss. So let's go down to the field now and hear from the referee, Paul Dojak.
Coin, they'll make the call, and of course they will make a bum call. You have the choice. So, we got a few minutes.
The Hamilton team is the home team for the 1962 Grey Cup game as a result of having won the toss. Now, trying to figure out just what the advantage of the very slight wind might be is kind of difficult. I think that the disadvantage is that it's starting to bring that fog in off the lake. The ceremony now having been completed, we will now get on with the final warm-up sessions as the coin is tossed and the Hamilton Tiger Cats win it, as he points to Captain Paul Decker along with the co-captain John Barrow. And for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 53 is Herb Gray and 63 is Steve Patrick. And so while that ceremony is just being completed, let's move in with Al Shaver here now and get some pregame comments from him. Al?
Well, Johnny, I sure hope we get this one in. It would be a shame to see a Grey Cup have to be postponed because of weather conditions of any kind, but things don't look too promising right at the moment. Looking out across Lake Ontario there, and the mists are really starting to move in on CNE Stadium. We were out here about 8 o'clock this morning, Brad, and it was beautiful out here then. The sun was shining, and the fog was well back out over the lake. And then in half an hour, it had just come in here, and sitting up in the press box, you couldn't see the scoreboard at one end or the TV tower at the other end. It was socked in real solid, and it's just amazing the way it can move in almost, with no warning at all. All of a sudden it's there, and we certainly hope that it's not going to move in during this ball game today. If it doesn't, Johnny, I think we're going to see a real fine football game. If the Winnipeg Blue Bombers can hold up in this one, they are a little hurt, we understand, and we'll just have to wait and see how serious it is.
Well, just while we wait for this one, as Jim Trimble talks to the officials, let's take a look now and see some Grey Cup highlights over the past years. Now, there's some great plays that'll take you back a few years and kind of set the stage for this one.
Well, there's 1946, number 55, Joe Kroll throwing to his old partner, Royal Copeland, and a Toronto Argonaut touchdown. We're now in 1949. Montreal Alouettes, the Calgary Stampeders, and Frank Filchok lets one go. Number 55, Bobby Cunningham, who's now the golf pro out at St. George's. Watch him. He takes that. And here's old Ches McCants, the late Ches McCants, kicking off. Give you an idea of the condition of the field out there. Watch that ball skip. And there's a fan gets in on the act. Beautiful block by the referee. Paul Rowe picks up the ball. Remember Paul Rowe? You want to see a power runner? Take a look at one. You don't arm tackle Paul Rowe. You got to get in front of him, and even then it doesn't help too often. There was another great game, 28-15. And here's the Mud Bowl of 1950, Al Dectebrand throwing a pitch out to Teddy Toogood. Toogood looks like he's getting away, and they give you an idea of how bad that field was. Watch these fellas, what is it they say, slud through? That's all mud there. And there's Pete Petro coming in with a brand new uniform. Nice run there by George McPhail. Watch this little guy scoot. He wasn't very big, but boy, he could go. And I thought there was a Winnipeg offside on that play. And I think it turned out there was. And Rod Smiley makes that flying tackle to avert a touchdown. That was 13-0 for the Toronto Argonauts there in 1950. And there's 1953 in that play. Did Tom Casey get it? And here's the play in stop action. Now, did he touch the ball before he was hit or didn't he? I kind of think it was a bit of a tie and the defense gets the advantage. That was a 12-6 ball game for Winnipeg. And here we are in 1961, the overtime. Number 11, watch him. Whoop, nobody to throw to, let's go. And watch this beautiful piece of running as Kenny Plain goes for the touchdown that defeated the Hamilton Tiger Cats in 1961. Yeah, those old pros, they still throw that ball up in the air when they get the big one, don't they, Johnny?
They sure do. And I imagine that even these old pros are just as excited playing in this 1962 Grey Cup game as many of the rookies who are playing in their first real big one. Well, now let's go from the past Grey Cup games and go to this one again to find out what these two teams look like statistically. Gordy Walker has made a comparison here for you. Let's see what it means.
Well, this is how the average game during the season worked out for Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Right up at the very top, you'll see the average score. Winnipeg won by an average of 24-18. Hamilton won its games 25-20 on an average. In first downs, it's very close. The Bombers averaged 18.5 first downs a game. The Tiger Cats 18.9. Yards rushing, Bombers had a little bit of an edge here. They rushed for an average of 163 yards per game. Hamilton 154. In passing, Winnipeg averaged 11.3 completions out of 18.8 passes thrown for 178 yards. Hamilton averaged just about half of the 25 passes they threw for 214 yards. Interceptions were about half an interception per game, edge for the Tiger Cats, as you can see there. Fumbles also were fairly even. The Bombers made about half a fumble a game more than Hamilton and recovered by the same margin. Penalties, Winnipeg averaged 5.3 penalties a game for 31.2 yards. Hamilton 7 penalties a game for 65.2 yards. Punting, Hamilton has a slight edge, a 43.4 yard average for 8.8 punts. Winnipeg 41.8 yards for 8.5 punts per game. Field goals tried, also fairly even. Winnipeg completed 3/4 of their field goal attempts, and Hamilton 86% of the field goals tried. Individual here in scoring, Jerry James was Winnipeg's leading scorer with 116 points. Don Souther topped Hamilton with 78. In passing, Kenny Plain gained 2,097 yards. Joe Zuger, 1,070. And you can see the rushing figures for Bobby Kuntz and Leo Lewis. And the last two lines are the top pass receivers. Johnny?
Very well done, Gord, and I think this gives the folks a little way to sit and compare these two clubs. Both have great records, but if you like to go for the statistics, there's your opportunity. And as the majorettes perform, the telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto.
Now, for those of you who came in late this morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Commissioner Halter and CFL President Jake Goddard decided to go ahead with today's Grey Cup game in spite of the possibility that fog might come back in and they'd have to make a snap decision perhaps during the game. Bernie Filoni, what does the uncertainty involving the terrible fog conditions here overnight and now the possibility that they might even have to stop the game and play the balance of it tomorrow, what does this do to a ball player?
Well, I think the uncertainty of not being able to play on time, Steve, sort of lends a little bit of uneasiness to a ball club. And the very fact that they may have to call the ball game in the middle of the game, or when there's 7 minutes to go and the score is, say, 14-14 and a second down, what's going to happen? This sort of makes a ball club really feel uneasy as to whether or not they're going to get the game finished. And I think that perhaps today, though, we're going to be better and get the game finished.
The optimistic Mr. Bernie Filoni, and gee, we, all of us football fans, hope so.
As the dancing majorettes perform, the crowd continues to pile in to the CNE Stadium, and I suppose in the past, if some of the fans have kept that second half of their ticket as a souvenir, about 100% of them will be keeping them today, not so much as a souvenir, but as a rain check, just in case this ball game has to be postponed. And we'll keep giving you these weather reports. We hope it doesn't sound repetitious or get monotonous, but we know that you are vitally interested because we will be getting closer shots on the field with our lenses than the folks in the stands here as that fog happens to come in. Thus the reason for the repetition of the weather reports. The temperature right now is 49 degrees, and there's just a slight wind. At halftime, too, I might point out that you'll see all the majorettes and the bands and a great halftime show from the field.
John, if today's game had have been postponed because of the weather, I believe it would have been the first time in Grey Cup history that such an incident has occurred, and the likelihood arose that the game would have to be played on Sunday. And further to that, in the event the fog persisted on Sunday, the game would have been played on Monday. So this could have been a real long weekend for all the out-of-towners who came down to see the game.
I don't know, Brad. From all the hooping and hollering around the Royal York Hotel there last night, I don't think they got any stamina left. I don't think they could carry on another day. There were some pretty bleary-eyed people I noticed around the lobby there this morning.
Well, perhaps Toronto is becoming used to it, or I don't know what it was, but we've been out here since Tuesday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday were very quiet nights. There is Miss Grey Cup.
Miss Renata Pecalis, Miss Ottawa Rough Rider, and acclaimed as Miss Grey Cup last night. And if these Grey Cups are getting harder to win, the only thing that's more difficult to choose is Miss Grey Cup. I've never seen so many beautiful girls in one contest, Stu.
Johnny, we had no trouble picking her. Remember, we had her on our show out of Ottawa, and we told her if she doesn't win it, the thing is fixed.
Beautiful girl, and
I think, Johnny, in selecting Miss Grey Cup, it's more than just the beauty. This gal, remember, she told her she took up ballet and could still speak Latvian. I tried Lithuanian on her, but she come back in Latvian to befuddle me just as much as I befuddled her.
Stu, what were you saying about Roger Hagberg not playing?
yeah, they're getting the official announcement from the Winnipeg dressing room right now that Roger Hagberg will not dress. Miss Grey Cup is now being presented to Jake Godard, the president of the Canadian Football League. And this lucky young lady will be driving home in a car all her own. We also might point out, here, let's just take another moment here and get a close look at this beautiful young lady. As Bill Westwick, the Ottawa Journal, said last night, well, we didn't win any football titles, but maybe this is just as happy that we should have the Miss Grey Cup title going back there at Ottawa. And I say, Bill, you have reason to be proud. That word that just came up from Roger Hagberg that he will not play, I think that you Winnipeg fans will be unhappy to hear that. And I think the other word is that Garland Warren will not play. And those are two big starters for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Maybe Jim Trimble knew this all the time, and thus his reason for exuding confidence right from the beginning.
Too, Johnny, they've got Gordy Rowland. I saw him downstairs a little while ago. He's got a big cast on that one ankle. It's not in very good shape at the moment. Looks like Barbara Ann Scott a little bit, doesn't she? Wasn't she from Ottawa, too? They all look the same down there.
Well, I would like to point out, while we have a moment here, that the referee for today's game is Paul Dojak from Regina. The number one umpire is Seymour Wilson from Hamilton. The number two umpire is Bill Nairn from Winnipeg. The number three umpire is Norm Maxwell from Hamilton. The headlinesman is Jim Piper from Edmonton. And the field judge is Ray Boucher from Ottawa. And there are the officials, 6 of them in today's game. In a regular league game, East and West, we use only 5. But in the Grey Cup game, they had one more umpire. I will have to say, too, that this is the best turf or the best gridiron that a professional football final has been played on. I've never seen a field at this stage of the game, the 1st of December, in as good a condition as this, Brad.
Well, I was going to say, did you catch any of the games out of the coast? in the last few years. We've had some pretty good conditions out there, and the field, of course, the grass is green 12 months a year in British Columbia. I notice Steve Owen is out on the field, and he is being selected as the Coach of the Year and the winner of the Anastukas Trophy.
The ceremony you see now is the referee Paul Dojak, who is checking the official 30 players that will be allowed to play in today's game. And these must go to the official timer. And from this point on, no change can be made. Those 30 names that are in there now are the only 30 names who can take part in this 1962 Grey Cup Classic. I might point out, too, we just have word that 10,000 letters, one-line letters, have come as a result of C.J. Wire's promotion in Winnipeg on behalf of the Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans trying to spur this club on over what they think are physical obstacles as a result of the pounding they took from that great Calgary Stampeder football club. And knowing what a psychologist Bud Grant is in preparing for a ball game, I know that he will certainly welcome that kind of additional inspiration.
He sure will, Johnny. And the Winnipeg fans have been notorious over a great many years for really backing their Bombers in any series. I can remember back in '57, the year they ended Edmonton's 3-year reign as Western champions. For the final game of that series in Winnipeg, they not only had telegrams, and when they send telegrams down there, they measure them in terms of lengths of the football field. In other words, it would be about 4 lengths, which would be about 440 yards. And that's the way they were rolling in all day. I think everybody in Winnipeg got his John Henry on those wires that came in. And they had fans down there. They're a great city with tremendous spirit. And they're always behind the Bombers, no matter what the situation is. And I know the Bombers themselves won't be letting them down here today if they can help it.
The Hamilton Tiger Cats are getting ready to be introduced to the crowd. And unfortunately for all the Hamilton fans, their big rally last night, they had expected 20,000 people, but it was completely fogged out. And you all remember the big pep rally last year that turned out to be quite an event. And this, of course, is a psychological weapon that Jim Trimble was hoping to use. But he had to bow to the fog. As a matter of fact, Jim couldn't even get through the fog to get to the Grey Cup dinner. And therefore, it became the first time that Bud Grant spoke for Jim Trimble and himself. And I have to say that he did a mighty fine job of that. The Hamilton Tiger Cats, a club that came on in the regular campaign, looked for a while as though they might have their problems, but they wound up. They recovered from the loss of Bernie Filoni with the great late-season finish from mid-season on by Joe Zuger and a great backup man in Frank Cosentino. They wound up with 9 wins, 4 losses, and a tie for a total of 19 points. And that was 6 better than the Ottawa Rough Riders, who finished in second place. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, playing in the toughest Western Conference, I'm sure, ever, wound up with 11 wins and 5 losses for 22 points. And that was just 3 better than the Calgary Stampeders, with Saskatchewan finishing second with 17. And now let's meet the Hamilton Tiger Cats as they are introduced to this huge throng. Big Ron Ray, number 66, who will be playing defensive left end for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He's a 248-pounder from Detroit Lions. Angelo Mosca, who came back to the Hamilton Tiger Cats today, playing a defensive tackle, 265 pounds. And John Barrow, the outstanding lineman of the year in Canadian football, one who has a great record. He's been an all-star in each of his 6 years in the Canadian football. Bob Minahane, number 64, defensive right tackle. And Big Bob Minahane, a 23-year-old, 244-pounder. Pete Newman, number 74, who has had his 11th year with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and it was to him that John Barrow credited the reason why Barrow himself could win the Outstanding Lineman Award. There's Zeno Karst, all-star linebacker, playing on that left corner for the Tiger Cats, a 200-pounder in his 7th year, formerly from Windsor. Sam Fernandez, number 25, the middle linebacker from Miami. And Fernandez, a 200-pounder, 22 years of age. Here comes Gary Schreider, number 12, who will be playing on that right corner. This is his 7th year in professional football. And now one of the all-time great halfbacks defensively in the Eastern Conference, number 22. Don Southern from the Hamilton Tiger Cats, formerly with the New York Giants and Pittsburgh Steelers, now in his 3rd year. Here comes number 21 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Ralph Golston, playing in his 11th year of professional football, 4 with Philadelphia, 7 with Hamilton. Number 18, Tommy Grant, formerly a junior star at Windsor, a 200-pounder, a 7-year veteran. He ran a kickoff back 105 yards this year. Here comes number 26, Garney Henley, who has to be one of the really great ones. He goes both ways so well, it's hard to win an award in any one department. So those are your Hamilton Tiger Cats, who will be playing in this game defensively this afternoon. And next we are going to meet the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And here come the defending Grey Cup champions, the Western Conference champions, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, number 43, George Drucksmann from University of Portland. And Drucksmann is playing in his 8th year with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Here comes number 55, Sherwin Thorson. He'll be playing at offensive left guard. This big lad, Thorson, goes in there at about 225 pounds. He will also replace Garland Warren as a linebacker. Here comes number 54, Rod Humanuk. And Rod Humanuk is a big boy in there. He goes in there at 230 as well. Here comes Frank Rigney wearing number 71. Now, Rigney, the outstanding lineman last year, played a little bit of end occasionally, but because of the problem of catching passes today, they have made him an end and juggled the backfield. Cornell Piper, number 64, offensive right tackle. Here comes Farrell Funston, number 74, who really stands in with those great clutch catches in Grey Cup games. Here's number 77, Ernie Pitts, the offensive right end, and Ernie Pitts playing in his 6th year with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 29, certainly one of the really great halfbacks, number 29, Leo Lewis. Lewis, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, is in his 8th year. Here comes number 21, Charlie Shepard. And Shepard, a 6-year veteran of the Bombers at 215 pounds from North Texas State. And Jerry James, who moves into the starting backfield at the fullback slot. Number 28, Jerry James, who is playing in his 10th year with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, only 27 years of age. And here comes Ron Latterell. Remember him, how this little number 31 starred in the game last year. Also number 11, Kenny Plain, who really starred in the Grey Cup game last year. Therefore, you have the offensive unit, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the rest of the team filing out there onto the field. Well, it's not going to be long now. These two clubs are going to be meeting head-on as the haze continues to settle in here at the CNE Stadium. And as the officials are now being announced, have met once apiece, here comes the official party with Prime Minister Diefenbaker, who will perform the official kickoff ceremony. And that, of course, will be followed by our anthems, and then followed by the official kickoff by the teams who actually get the game underway. And we might point out, too, that for the 190 stations who are carrying the game today on ABC, and they asked for a number of things, but first of all, they asked for the official party with the Prime Minister to be escorted by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They felt they must have the Mounted Police in on the official kickoff party because this is what all of our friends across the line are asking for. Well, the fog is coming in a little bit heavier now, and gosh, I don't know what to say. As you watch the official party come out now, the fog is coming in just a little bit heavier now. I don't know whether we're going to wind up with no passing or no kicking or maybe a running game to keep the ball on the ground. The wind is only 5 miles an hour, but it is just enough to be blowing that fog in off the lake, coming right into the CNE. The Hamilton Tiger Cats have 10 players in their roster today who were not with them in the 1961 Grey Cup. They have 5 first-year men, that is 5 rookies. And when you look at the whole Hamilton club, it averages 5 years. In other words, they average 5 years' experience as Hamilton Tiger Cat players. We're getting ready for the official kickoff now. Miss Grey Cup introduced to the Prime Minister and Mayor Lloyd Jackson of Hamilton and His Worship Mayor Nathan Phillips of Toronto. I see Alderman Peter Taraska representing Mayor Juba from Winnipeg, along with Jake Godower, the president of the Canadian Football League, among others included in the official party here this afternoon. Well, now let's see what kind of a kickoff record we're going to have for the official kickoff.
I hope he lifts it.
We've got some cross signals down there on the field. I think they expect the anthem to be played before the kickoff, is the way we were told it was going to happen, and I think they're just waiting to get the signals straightened out on the field right now. Now you see the color guard approaching. There is not an empty seat in the stands. They're jamming them in the corners. I don't know what... The official kickoff, that is the official record according to race statistician Gord Walker, the Prime Minister kicked off 14 and a half yards and there was no run back. Now the telecast of this game, the Grey Cup game, is coming to you from Toronto.
It is almost game time. Grey Cup 62. Let's hear what Bernie Filoni has to say in assessing both clubs on offense and defense. Bernie?
Well, let's take Winnipeg's offense first, Steve, and I feel that they've made a few changes. They dropped Roger Hagberg, and they put James back in that backfield. And I don't know whether this is going to strengthen them or not. I believe Hagberg is quite a good runner, inside runner. Their overall offense isn't going to be changing too much. They may be running a little bit like the Hamilton offense, where they have the twin and now the tackle-eligible play. The Hamilton offense certainly is not going to change much from the playoff situations.
All right, now we all know, and you know because you've played defense, that defense wins many ball games. Let's go on that one.
Yes, I think today will be a real defensive battle because the Hamilton Tiger Cat line is the best in the Hamilton Tiger Cat history, if not the best in the East. And I know that the defensive line for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers hasn't changed much at all. And aside from the fact that maybe a few breaks on kicks or pass interceptions, this defensive ball game is going to be probably one of the outstanding in all Grey Cup history.
Well, Bernie, it's kind of surprising because so many people say that this is going to be a high-scoring ball game, and the Ticats have been favored by as much as 8 points. But we're going to see in just a very few seconds. So go with us to the CNE Stadium, Grey Cup 62.
Well, as the teams regroup just before the kickoff, we might point out that it's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with Jerry James who will kick off. And back to receive for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, going right down there in the end zone, is number 18, Tommy Grant, and number 30, Jamie Caleb. Now, we can just make them out down there on the goal line, so anything can happen here this afternoon. There is Jerry James, the left-footed kicker, with number 31, Ron Latterell. You're going to expect Latterell to be down near the kick. Here's the whistle. The game is underway, and there goes the kick. It comes down to Caleb on the 25-yard line, up to the 30, the 35, hit by Norm Rawhouse and dropped on the 37-yard line. So the 1962 Grey Cup game is now underway. For the Hamilton Tiger Cats, there's Joe Zuger, number 9. And he has Chet Mixon, number 46, at his offensive center. Dave Vitti, 73, at right end. Paul Decker at left end, or switch those around, but he's actually a flanker. Easterly, number 20, on the right side. And we have Garney Henley going in motion. The handoff is to Bobby Kuntz. Kuntz is piled up just over the line of scrimmage. And the first man in there to get him was number 62, the defensive left tackle, Roger Savoy, a 12-year veteran of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It'll be second down and 8.5 yards to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 39-yard line. Henley, 26 out to the right, Easterly out there as well. 30, Caleb Kuntz, 23, as Zuger drops back in there to throw. Looking down this left side to Hal Patterson, number 7. He's hit in there and covered by Henry Jansen, number 32. And it goes incomplete. It'll now be third down. 8.5 yards to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 39-yard line. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers will send back number 31, Ron Latterell, and number 32, Henry Jansen, to receive. Zuger will kick from the Hamilton 24-yard line. There is the snap. And the boot by Joe Zuger. And waiting under it there is Jansen. He takes it on the 31, puts his head down to the 32-yard line, and he's dropped on the 32 by Gino DeNoble. Number 62 and 73, Dave Vitti, a 41-yard boot, and a 3-yard run back. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers now line up offensively as number 11, Kenny Plain, will come in to quarterback the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Hamilton lining up defensively. We'll give you those in a moment. There's the Winnipeg Blue Bomber offensive huddle. 77 Pitts at right end. And 71 Rigney at left end. Funston actually is split off as a flanker. And Charlie Shepard is flanked wide to the right with Latterell. Here's Kenny Plain going back to throw. He's hit back there and dropped by John Barrow on the 23-yard line. They ruled that he was stopped on the 25. There's a flag on the play. Offside against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Well, there was something we're going to find out about that Hamilton Ball Club. Now, this was definitely a long pass pattern. All the receivers were going deep. Kenny Plain held on that extra 2 seconds, and you could see that big rush by that Hamilton club. Notice they come in from the outside, sort of boxed off to make sure that Plain couldn't go outside. This is something they have to be aware of.
The loss of 7 yards in the play. It is second down and 17 yards to go. Latterell, 31, goes to the top of your screen. Shepard and James, the fullbacks, in tight. They go back into a fake quick kick. Now it's going to be a quick kick. And there goes a boot by Charlie Shepard. Tommy Grant going back. It's over his head to the 30. He slips and falls. And having to give him 5 yards is Cornell Piper. Then he drops him on the 35-yard line. And Charlie Shepard was shaken up on the play after the quick kick. He was hit, and he is going off the field.
See, you know, as you know, Johnny, it's not legal to hit the kicker, but as Shepard approached the line of scrimmage, this is where the defensive club can't hit him. They nailed him at the line of scrimmage.
1st and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Zuger rolling out to his right. Chased there by Roger Savoy. The pass is no good. Intended by Jamie Caleb. A big rush put on him there by Roger Savoy. And the pass goes incomplete. It'll be 2nd down. 10 yards to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 36-yard line. Now, Hal Patterson, wearing number 7 to become a backfielder. Normally he would wear 77, but in the last game they changed that. Taking a look at the Hamilton club as they break out over the huddle on a 2nd and 10 situation, and Joe Zuger rolling out to his left, blocking from Ellison Kelly, throwing long here to Dave Beatty, and he dropped it. Dave Beatty being covered there by Kenny Plain. The ball rolls loose, but Hal Patterson goes after it just in case it happens to be a loose ball. Patterson stopped for a moment. He saw Kenny Plain chase the ball. Just in case it should be ruled as a free ball, the referee was going down to pick it up. Patterson hit the referee in attempting to get to the ball, knocked his whistle flying, but it was ruled dead.
Well, anytime these football players see a ball lying around loose, they might have had the impression that Beatty had a hold of it long enough, completed pass, fumble. They see that ball loose. They didn't hear a whistle. They just kept on playing it.
Joe Zuger going back to his own 20-yard line to do the punting for Hamilton. Good snap from Mixa. It's a bit of a wobble on it, and Jansen has to rush up to take it on the 40. Fakes the reverse, goes in the middle. Hit hard by Gino DeNoble, number 62 of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and he is dropped on the 43-yard line. Old Vince Scott, 13-year veteran of the Cats, was in there to make sure he didn't go any farther. That was a 34-yard boot, a 4-yard run back. And we have 12 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in the opening quarter of play, and there's no score. Winnipeg Blue Bombers have done a little bit of, well, they're going to have to do some more juggling, evidently, because we now have Joe Williams, number 22 in the offensive backfield, to replace Charlie Shepard. James, number 28, flanks to the top of the screen. And here is Leo Lewis to the 45, trying to pick his way. He is into the 52-yard line and driven out. He fumbled the ball, but he was in the touch at this point, and it was Ralph Goldston who drove him out. On the 48-yard line, and that will be a gain of 5 yards. It is 2nd down and 5 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Winnipeg 48. There's the Hamilton defense being called by number 61, John Barrow, who can line up as a middle guard, as a linebacker, or as a defensive end. It's his choice. Second down, 5 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and they're changing their offensive setup on every play now. Here's Kenny Plain throwing down there to Ernie Pitts. No good. Pitts had the first down pass, but he was hit there by Ralph Goldston and Garney Henley, and he just couldn't hold on to that ball.
Well, I tell you, indications are here, but I don't know how long some of these boys are going to last, Johnny. It's been a long while since I've seen tackling like we've had in the early minutes of this ball game.
3rd down and 5, and Don Southern with Tommy Grant will go back to receive for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Jack Delvo, number 23, comes in to do the booting for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers from the 35. Remember how he stepped into the breach last year? Don Southern at the 20, being chased here by Frank Rigney, gets up to the 25, keeps going to the 28-yard line. The telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto. A 42-yard boot, a 9-yard return. And Joe Zuger sends out Henley and Easterly to the right. Now they bring Henley back around to the opposite side and hand off to Bobby Kuntz. Hit there by Steve Patrick, the middle guard, and he drags him down on the 36-yard line. There's Bobby Kuntz, who picked up a big 166 yards against the Alouettes in the second game of the Eastern Final, and Kuntz finished second in the Eastern rushing this year behind the record-setting George Dixon. Second down and 2 to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 36-yard line. Caleb is out to the right this time. They keep Kuntz in with Henley. They hand off to Henley. A quick opener into the 45. Keeps going to the far side, the 55, the 40. And there's only one man who can get him in there. And it's going to have to be Jack Delbo and Henry Jansen. And he is over for the touchdown. Jamie Caleb, number 30, threw the key block to set it up for Garney Henley, who came back in and went 74 yards for the touchdown.
Well, we got to hand a lot of credit to his blockers down there. That was a beautiful piece of teamwork. Only a fellow like Henley, a quick-thinking kid out there, he just used them every foot of the way. He seemed to be caught 2 or 3 times, went in for the sideline, cut back in toward the center of the field, did a perfect job of setting up the block for his men. A beautiful exhibition of blocking. Here's that convert coming up, John.
Don Southern, number 22, is wide. He's wide and to the right. So it is a 6-0 ball game with 10 minutes and 9 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. Hamilton on top 6-0. And it was Garney Henley who broke off tackle and went 74 yards with some great blocking, as Stu told you. Henry Jansen and Jack Delbo, the last 2 men, tried to drive him out at about the 5.
You know, the thing about blocking, that halfback with the ball can really help his blockers with the right moves, and we saw an example there as Henley just moved in to set up the tackler for the block by the man he had ahead of him. Beautiful example of teamwork.
Here's the kickoff by Don Southern, and back under it for the Blue Bombers is Leo Lewis up to the 25-yard line. Look at his turn of speed. Gets by, he slips and falls on the 35 and is driven out on the 36-yard line. Dave Beattie was over to get him, a 54-yard boot, a 25-yard run back. Lewis, who one of the most feared men in that run back department, had that corner made had he not slipped and fallen. It is 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Winnipeg 36-yard line. Cornell Piper, 64 at right tackle, Forson 55 at guard, Humanick 54 at the other guard spot, and we have just under 10 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. Lewis flanks out wide to the right with Ron Latterell. Williams goes in motion. Plain rolls out to the right, looking down this right side to Lewis, and he can't get it. Lewis is being covered by number 15, Zeno Carson, 21, Ralph Golston, but it wasn't there. So the Bombers are now without Charlie Shepard, and we don't know if he'll be back in. He's trying to work out that leg muscle of his on the sideline, and I suspect that old Charlie will be back in this ball game.
He'll grow a new leg by the second half.
2nd down and 10 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. On their own 36-yard line, Kenny Plain set an all-time passing record in the West this year, completing 65%. Now we go 2nd and 10, and they've been throwing a lot this afternoon. Plain rolling out to his right, out here on the right side, held Ron Latterell, and he can't hold on. There's a flag on the play. Back at the line of scrimmage, and a little bit of rough play going on.
Well, there's a play that has been carrying those Blue Bombers. Remember Latterell last year with that same type of play? He made life miserable for those Hamilton Tiger Cats. And the referee pointed out that somebody following threw an elbow, which is roughing.
Actually, I think they rule that as roughing the passer on that play. And this gives them a 15-yard move to the 51-yard line, where it is 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And I'm glad to report that fog is dissipating a little bit. 1st and 10, Winnipeg, and they've got backs in motion this time. They hand to Leo Lewis, trying to slide off tackle. He keeps fighting into the 52-yard line before he is piled up. Got a great block there from Cornell Piper, number 64, his right tackle. And then Minahane, 64, came from the opposite side to finally pull him down, along with Ron Ray, number 66. 8 minutes, 36 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. 6-0 for Hamilton on Gardy Henley's 74-yard touchdown. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are second down and 2 to go on the Hamilton 52-yard line. Lewis flanks to the top of your screen, number 29. Hits a split off the right end. They hand to Ron Lateral, and Lateral hit there by Pete Newman, the defensive right end, who was set up for that one along with Gary Schreider, number 12, in that right corner. And they hold the Blue Bombers to make it third down and 2 to go. Tommy Grant will be one of those receivers back there along with Don Southern. And there you see 22 Don Southern back about the goal line. And Jack Delvaux will be booting from the Winnipeg 46. 6-0 for Hamilton. There's the snap from George Drucksmann, the boot from Delvaux. It's a wobbler off the side of his foot, and this could go out. It does, and it goes out right on the 25-yard line.
Funny, we just got word.
Boot. It is 1st and 10 Hamilton on the Hamilton 25-yard line. Zuger rolling out to his right behind the protection of Puritan, and it is no good. Dick Thornton, number 14, went up in the air, had his hand on it, not enough to catch it, and it goes incomplete. Al Patterson was the intended receiver. Second down and 10 to go on the 25-yard line.
Notice so far most of the passes have all been out to the sideline. I wonder if both these quarterbacks have got something in mind. Zuger in particular. You know, that Hamilton club can pass down the middle pretty well, and watch out for something coming up there.
Norm Rawhouse, the safety man, is almost up in the line of scrimmage now. Here goes Zuger being chased into that pocket. He's throwing deep there to Dick Easterly, and it goes incomplete. Dick Easterly, number 20, a late season arrival from University of Syracuse, got 5 touchdown passes in his first 4 games. And he turned around and suggested maybe somebody help push him down to the ground and not up to the ball as he tried to catch that one. So we're back to a 3rd and 10 situation for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 25-yard line. And once again, Joe Zuger will go back to the, well, he usually likes about 15 yards back there. And there he is on the 10. He gets a wobbler, a low one, and it's going to take a hop to Henry Jansen back in his own 42. Beats the first tackler, and he's hit hard again. And once again, it's Gino DeNoble down there to meet Henry Jansen.
You know, this kid Jansen has got to be one of the toughest little guys I've ever seen around. Either that or he's made out of India rubber.
42-yard boot, a 2-yard run back. Gino DeNoble goes in there at 230. Henry Jansen goes in at 185. So far, it's been a standoff. 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. On the Winnipeg 45-yard line, Hamilton leading 6-0, 6.5 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. Kenny Plain back into that pocket, the rush by Gary Schreider, and he pulls him down on the 39-yard line. Gary Schreider, number 12, formerly from Ottawa, laterally with BC and now with Hamilton, setting outside of Pete Newman. And he circled the blocker and came back in from behind to catch Pete Newman, or at least to catch Kenny Plain after Newman had held up that side. That's the second time Plain has been thrown for a loss this afternoon. It is now 2nd down and 15 to go. Charlie Shepard is back in the ball game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And here's Plain rolling out to his left this time. Going a long one down here to Leo Lewis, and he can't get it. Down on the 40-yard line, the Hamilton 40. And back there to cover was number 18, Tommy Grant. It'll be 3rd down and 15 yards to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. With 5 minutes, 58 seconds remaining in the opening quarter, and Hamilton leading 6-0. Well, 8 passes have been thrown in this ball game, and both have been, or at least all have been incomplete. Both teams have been unsuccessful in throwing a pass. Hamilton's thrown 5. 3rd down and 15 to go, and Shepard from the 30, and he pounds a dandy. We almost lose that one up in the fog. Back under his ground on the 20 to the 25, into the 30-yard line, and he's dropped on the 30. The telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto. Hamilton Tiger Cats on their own 31-yard line following that boot, and Joe Zuger flipping to the fullback, Bobby Kuntz, and Kuntz is hit on the 35 and rolls into the 37-yard line as Dave Burkholder, number 52, is in there to get him. Second down, 2.5 yards to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats as Winnipeg sets up defensively. They're crossing their halfbacks, and the handoff to Bobby Kuntz, who dives into the 44-yard line, and he has the first down. Nick Miller, number 24, came over to make the tackle. And we have a 1st and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 43-yard line. It's doubtful if any quarterback broke into the league with more impact than Joe Zuger, set a Canadian record with 8 touchdown passes in that first game. 1st and 10, halfbacks flanking wide, and we've seen more of it. There's the flag on the play as Hamilton is offside. Here's Garney, at least Zuger rolling out. Henley throwing a block, and he moves into the 54-yard line, stopped by Kenny Plain, the safety man. But the Hamilton Tiger Cats were offside. A game that was good for very close to 9 has been wiped out, and we have the referee, Paul Dojak from Regina. We also have another change in here following that, and this is Don Southern coming into the backfield to replace Jamie Caleb. Caleb was the offside man on that last play, and Jim Trimble calls him to the bench to explain something to him. There you have Joe Zuger. There you have a look now at Caleb and Jim Trimble. It is first down over again, 15 yards to go for the Tiger Cats on their own 38-yard line. Don Southern flanks wide to the left. Easterly is in motion. The handoff to Kuntz, and Kuntz hits the 40 and is finally stopped there by Dave Burkholder. Winnipeg was offside on that play. You know, Jim Trimble and Bud Grant are making their 5th Grey Cup appearances, and that ties Lou Heyman, Billy Hughes, and Mike Rodden, along with Reg Threlfall, for appearances. Heyman is the only undefeated one in 5 appearances, with Argos 3 times, RCF Hurricanes, and the Montreal Alouettes. First down over again. Now it's 10 yards to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on their own 43-yard line. Quick pitch on the left side to Bobby Kuntz, puts his head down, hit by Jack Delvo, number 23. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. Hamilton leading by a score of 6-0. And I wonder if many players have played as many positions as this Jack Delvo since he joined the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He's a defensive end right now. Easterly left. Bobby, or at least Garney Henley rolling right. Bobby Kuntz throws the block. The pass intended for Vini. No good. And that Zuger is rifling that ball, Stu.
That's the thing I've noticed, Johnny. I'm just going to make a point of it, where in the other games he was laying the thing up, throwing it pretty hard. He's getting that arm back there now and letting it go like a slingshot. You know, you wonder about these kids playing in front of big crowds down in college ball, but this is still the Grey Cup game. This is a rookie quarterback. I can see that he's just giving it a little extra. He could take some off that high, hard one that he's been letting go.
Well, there's our end zone camera letting you watch that ball come out from center in the snap to Joe Zuger. Zuger gets his best one away, and Jansen goes back to his own 13-yard line, cuts back into the 16, goes to the 20, and is hit on the 20-yard line. Angelo Mosca, number 68, in to make the tackle with 16, Ken Kilray.
Winter driving.
That was a 51-yard boot by Joe Zuger, who led all U.S. college punters last year in that department, as well as interceptions. Now we've got Hal Ledyard coming into the Winnipeg Blue Bomber offensive unit. Number 12, Hal Ledyard, 29-year-old, second-year man with the Blue Bombers. This gives Kenny Plain a little rest. He's been going all the way, both ways. Here is Ledyard going back to throw, rolling left, chased by Pete Newman, and he's dropped by Pete Newman. Back on the 8-yard line. Sam Fernandez, 25. Minahane, 64. Minahane came up with the football. This tremendous defensive charge by the Hamilton Tiger Cats has been overpowering in the latter half of the year and has been going great for them at this point.
Well, you can remember the Tiger Cats last year were going pretty well until Pete Newman got himself hurt, and all of a sudden Hal Ledyard and Kenny Plain started completing passes. That old veteran of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, still a key man in their defensive setup.
It's second down and 21 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And here's Ledyard back to throw again under the goalpost, the right side to Leo Lewis, trying to shake him open. He's into the 15, and he's dropped on the 21-yard line. Leo Lewis gets back just about 12 of those yards, but it'll be third down. It was Zeno Kars, along with Sam Fernandez, who made the tackle, and Bud Grant sends in his punting unit on a third down and 8 situation on the Winnipeg 21. Minute 54 remaining in the opening quarter. It's 6-0 for Hamilton. Scotty Henley, who scored that Hamilton touchdown, picked up 12 like that this year. Not all that long, but almost all of them as spectacular. Charlie Shepard back on the Winnipeg 7-yard line to do the booting. Grant and Southern on the Hamilton 40. Boot by Shepard. He pounds a low ball. And Grant has to go back to his own 37, pits the first man down, and Rod Humanuk hits him on the 52-yard line. There's a flag on the play. Holding is the call.
On that one, Johnny, the Hamilton Tiger Cats really loaded up the line, and I think they're, instead of really rushing the kicker, they're trying to stop the lineman from going downfield. Somebody a little too enthusiastic about it got caught for holding.
Defensive holding is the call. This will move the ball to the 31-yard line, and Winnipeg Blue Bombers come out of there with a first down. Hal Ledyard comes back into the game, and it is 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. A minute 33 remaining in the opening quarter, 6-0 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who had the best defensive record in Canada this year. Hamilton Tiger Cats were second and a very close second. Hamilton beat Winnipeg 30-9 this year in the interlocking game. Winnipeg beat Hamilton 16-10 in their second meeting over the 2 years. 1st and 10 now. Ledyard hustling back into that. The rush is on. They pass. Oh, Leo Lewis is caught from behind by Ron Ray. There's no doubt about that one. Illegal interference is the official ruling on it.
Yes, I would say it was a little illegal. Feel like he wasn't charged with hanging. He tried his best to take his throat off.
I think that over-enthusiastic Hamilton rush has been a big factor in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers marching all the way from their own 8-yard line and now have another first down, and they are on the Winnipeg 41. That's the third first down for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and they have picked up all 3 on penalties. Hamilton has 2 first downs. 1st and 10, Winnipeg on the Winnipeg 41. Winnipeg trails 6-0. Quick pass on the left side. Leo Lewis turns to try to get away from Don Southern, but Southern has to bring him down in a wrestling match on the 52-yard line. Looked like Garney Henley was getting set for the big chase on that side, because had Southern not been able to contain Leo Lewis, Lewis with his great speed would then have had to match Garney Henley to that sideline. The Yardsticks are on their way to see whether or not he has made the 10 yards necessary. You know, Don Southern, that I just mentioned, set a record in the Eastern Conference with 12 field goals this season. The only player who ever led the league for 2 successive years in pass interceptions. He had 8 this year and 11 last year. There it is. And it's a first down for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 43 seconds remaining in the opening quarter of the 62 Grey Cup Classic. Hamilton on top, 6-0. It's 1st and 10 Winnipeg, and Winnipeg on their own 51-yard line. They've come all the way from their own 8 on this march. And here we have the fake to Charlie Shepard. Ledger throwing out here on the right side to Ron Latterell. No good. Being covered by number 15, Zeno Kars. 2nd and 10 now for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Ledyard, well, that's the first he has missed out of 3. It is now 2nd and 10, and Ledyard comes out of the game, and Kenny Plain goes back in. There's 77 Pitts. Number 11 is Kenny Plain. 31, Ron Latterell. Kenny Plain in his 6th year with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Outstanding player in the Grey Cup game last year. And here's Plain going back to throw out on that left side, and it is good out there to Farrell Funston, and Funston is dropped on the 47-yard line. Number 10, Farrell Funston, dropped by number 22, Don Southern. Winnipeg Blue Bombers move the sticks for 12 yards. Nine seconds remaining in this opening quarter of play. Hamilton leading 6-0, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have done an awful lot of juggling and changing to try to find some way of formulating that attack against this big Eastern Championship club. 1st down and 10 with Latterell wide to the right. Shepard goes in motion. Lewis stays in the block, and Plain goes up the middle to the 40-yard line, to the 35, the 25, and Garney Henley's the only man that can catch him, and he drives him out on the 6-yard line. The gun sounds to end the first quarter of play as Plain runs 41 yards. The telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto.
What happened on it?
Well, Steve, we were rolling out most of the first quarter and showing a lot of motion. And on this particular play, we got a trap by Ellison Kelly, enabled Garney Henley to go right up the middle, 74 yards, cut to the sideline, 2 terrific blocks, and was on his way into the end zone for the score.
And Mr. Plain tried to even things up at the end of that quarter as well, and that was a magnificent run by him, too. Let's see what happens in quarter number 2.
In the first quarter, Winnipeg had 6 first downs, Hamilton 2. Winnipeg 54 yards rushing, Hamilton 98. Winnipeg completed 3 out of 7 passes for 34 yards. Hamilton was unable to complete a pass out of 6 thrown. No interceptions, 1 penalty for Winnipeg, 5 yards. Hamilton took 4 for 40 yards. No fumbles recovered. 4 punts apiece. Winnipeg averaging 43 yards, Hamilton 40.8. Here we go now. 1st and goal to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Hamilton 6-yard line, and Hamilton is in an 11-man line. Here is the handoff to Leo Lewis, and he is at the 1, and he's over for the touchdown. Leo Lewis, number 29. Ties up the old ball game at 6-6, and Jerry James will have an opportunity to put Winnipeg ahead.
Well, and that Hal Ledyard, the old pinch hitter on this Winnipeg ball club, in there at quarterback to set that one up. Beautiful exhibition of running by Leo Lewis, but still some great blocking by that Hamilton, or the Winnipeg line, because, as you pointed out, they were in an 11-man line. It's pretty tough to wedge a hole in there.
Convert is good, and it is a 7-6 ball game. And Leo Lewis, who scored 11 touchdowns for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this year, has added the first one for Winnipeg in the Grey Cup game. The big play there, following that sequence of penalties, was the fact that Kenny Plain, looking very much like he did in the touchdown that won Grey Cup game last year, took off for 41 yards to set it up.
Well, talking about setting it up, you know, Hamilton have been giving what we call an outside rush, coming in from the outside, make sure he doesn't roll out, but leaving that middle a little bit open. And you don't do that too often against Plain, because he'll go outside down the middle like he did there. He saw that opening. He didn't waste a second. He was gone before they knew he was carrying the ball.
Jerry James, the left footer, kicks off. And it comes down to Caleb. He fumbles the ball, picks it up on the 20, to the 25, to the 30. He's hit there by Henry Jensen, and he's dropped on the 36-yard line. Ken Hamlin also in there to bring him down. 49-yard boot, a 20-yard run back, and we have, after that tackle by Roger Hamlin, a 1st and 10 for the at least for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 36. As Winnipeg sends Thornton out to cover Dick Easterly to the left, Jansen out to cover on the right side. They hand off to Bobby Kuntz, and Kuntz is hit by Jack Delvaux, fumbled the ball and recovered as Delvaux climbs on him quickly a second time. Delvaux came up as a fullback, was a great linebacker, doing the punting, and now playing defensive end. Delvaux goes at 220 pounds. 25-year-old from Illinois via the New York Giants. 2nd down and 10, and here goes Zuger rolling right. Down there to Jamie Caleb, who makes a fine catch on the 43-yard line. And he is about 3 yards away from a 1st down. Dave Burkholder, number 52, is in there to tackle number 30, Jamie Caleb. Joe Zuger completes his first pass of the afternoon. Still very hazy here, and I don't know whether it's getting any better or any worse. Joe Zuger back on his own 29-yard line. Latterell and Jansen in there to receive, and Thornton almost blocked that one. Jansen takes it on the 28, heads along the 30, fakes the lateral, hit by Ron Watton, number 44, and is dropped on the 32-yard line.
Something, Johnny, that Zuger better get those punts away a little quicker because they're starting to work on him. Herbie Gray and Thornton almost came up with a good play. Thornton didn't come too far away from blocking that one.
1st and 10 now for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as they line up on their own 33-yard line. And Ledger, the quarterback, out on the left side to Lewis. Lewis trying to use his speed to get back to the 35, and he is dropped on the 35-yard line. Sam Fernandez, 25, came in from one side, 22 Southern on the other, and Pete Newman, 74, up the middle to catch him.
Ledger's pass fakes to Lewis. Newman makes the tackle.
Leo Lewis has picked up a total of 21 yards for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Newman, Minahane, Barrow, Mosca, and Ray, the defensive line for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, going from right to left. Ledger, the quarterback, it's 2nd and 8, and he's going down there to number 77, Ernie Pitts, hit by Fernandez and dropped on the 48-yard line, and he's got a 1st down. There's a flag in the play, rough play.
Old Ralph Goldston came in there, giving a little bit extra, and looked like an elbow thrown in there, and the officials right on the spot to call it.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers leading 7-6 over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 12 minutes, 23 seconds remaining in the first half of play. And that 15-yard roughing penalty moves the Winnipeg ball to the Hamilton 45-yard line, just between the 45 and 46. Funston is split off to the left as Ledyard goes back to throw. Fakes one, throwing a long one down here to Funston. Southern goes back to try to intercept, well off the mark. Well, she's starting to really roll in here off the lake right now, and I've got my fears.
That's not misty anymore. That's getting foggy.
I wonder if they'll even considering forgetting the halftime and going right on with the game. Really coming in here now. This morning, in a space of 8 minutes from being absolutely clear, the park was absolutely covered with fog. 2nd down and 10 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Hamilton 46-yard line. Jerry James is split off to the left. Lewis outside the left end, Funston. And Kenny Plain going back to throw. Dumps one up the middle intended for Charlie Shepard, but it was too low, and he fielded it on a hop. So it'll be 3rd and 10. Shepard was wide open.
He had a big rush in there, and old Vince Scott, number 53, in there, the favorite vein of all quarterbacks, really in on him, and Plain just let the ball go to get rid of it more than anything because he was going to be dumped for a good 10, 11-yard line.
There are the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and they send back Henley and Southern to receive, or Grant and Southern. They've now put the lights on to see if that'll help, and here's the boot by Shepard. And Grant takes it on the 3-yard line, up to the 5, up to the 10, and is dropped by Sherwin Thorson, number 55, on the 10-yard line. The lights are on here at the CNE. A 42-yard boot and an 8-yard run back. Seven to 6 in favor of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who have won the last 3 Grey Cup meetings against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Al Patterson flanks out wide to the right. And they hand off to Bobby Coons, who's met there by number 63, Steve Patrick, the middle guard. And by 53, Herb Gray, the defensive left end. The amazing Herbie Gray. A loss of 1. It'll be second down and 11. I say amazing because everybody said he couldn't play in that second game against Calgary, and they were able to doctor him up, and what a night he had. Second down, 11 to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 9-yard line. Caleb and Patterson out to the right. Here's Zuger dropping back to throw. Getting a long one down here to Patterson. It is no good. Kenny Plain had it for a moment and could not hold on, and he hurt his ankle as he went after that interception.
Johnny, as he went up in the air, Thornton, who was covering Patterson at the time, Plain cut in, and Thornton ran into him, really spilled him. He hadn't been hit that hard for a long while.
Third down and 11 is the situation for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on their own 9-yard line. This time Zuger will be booting from about 5 yards behind his own goal line. There's the boot, and it's up there somewhere near the 50-yard line. Jansen picks it up, gets going again to across the 55 and into the 53 as Gino DeNoble meets up with Henry Jansen once more. Oh, that fog is really coming in now. A 51-yard boot, a 6-yard return. The telecast, this Grey Cup game, is coming to you from Toronto. Al Ledyard is in at quarterback. Throwing out here on the left side to Leo Lewis to the midfield stripe to the 50. Caught there by Don Southern and driven out on the 47-yard line. We cannot see from the 25-yard line beyond. That is to the Winnipeg side of the field.
Well, you can't see the goalpost out the other end, Johnny, and over across the field, it's pretty hard to see the lights from here.
The only thing that could have ruined a great game. There you get a ground shot of it. It gives you a little better idea. The only thing that could have ruined what should have been what could still be one of the all-time great games, but it's too bad about these conditions. Second down and 3.5 yards to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Leo Lewis on the left side again to the 45 into the 40. Dropped by Sam Fernandez on the 40-yard line. And that's another first down for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They move just over the 40, and there's the Hamilton Tiger Cat defensive setup, I think. Referee Paul Dojak keeps looking around, wondering how much longer he can let this game go. Winnipeg splits to the top of your screen there, and he pitched number 77, Ledyard. Fakes, then he throws back to Pitts. It's no good. Ralph Goldston went up in the air and knocked the ball down. Ronnie Pitts ran past the ball, and Ralph Goldston, who was late coming over to cover. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers called for holding, and they moved the ball back to the Hamilton 51-yard line. But as I was saying, Goldston, who was late coming to it, suddenly found the ball right there, and he couldn't get it. Well, I've lost the scoreboard, lost the clock. We cannot see that end of the field either.
Amazing what a good job those cameras are doing penetrating that, Johnny.
Winnipeg are second down and 20 on the Hamilton 50-yard line, and Ledyard is going to be throwing, and it is no good. Sam Fernandez went up there to tip the ball away. We cannot see the far side of the field now. Second down.
Crowd buzzing, Johnny. Guys on the other side, they're way over on this side. I don't think the people in the other stand can possibly see.
Well, we cannot see beyond the midfield markers now. What a time for a sleeper play. We can just make out the Winnipeg Blue Bomber team. We can't find the Hamilton Tiger Cats anymore. See them down on the ground a little bit better. As we look to state of those ground cameras now, I can't tell you. There's a long pass, and Ernie Pitts has got it on the 17-yard line. Ernie Pitts went up to make the catch on the 17-yard line. Don Southern to tackle. A 33-yard pass to Ernie Pitts gives the Winnipeg Blue Bombers a first down on the Hamilton 16-yard line. So from the ground cameras, you're getting a better picture of it than anybody else here in the park. And Kenny Plain rolling out to his right, still going to be chased here by Ron Ray. He cuts into the 15, and he is dropped on the 15-yard line.
Just got word that Commissioner Sid Halder and CFL President Jake Gadar are down on the sidelines taking a look at the condition. It might be a little better right at the ground level, Johnny. That fog seems to be lifting, and up here on the roof, it's pretty hard to see what's going down on the field. But as you can see from the ground shot, it's not quite as bad from down there.
It's starting to lift a little bit. We can now see the Bomber bench once more. It is second down and 9 to go. On the 15-yard line, Ledyard is the quarterback. He hands off to Leo Lewis. He's going to be throwing a pass. It's into the end zone, and Charlie Shepard has got it for a touchdown. Charlie Shepard from Leo Lewis for the touchdown.
Charlie lost his shoe going in on that one. You can see him putting it back on there on your screen. But there was a pet play that they pull out of the hat every once in a while at Leo Lewis, a dangerous man both ways. And left-footed Jerry James getting ready for the convert.
Now 13-6 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and Jerry James will attempt the convert, and it is good. We have 7 minutes and 14 seconds. There's the score, 14-6 for Winnipeg, but we now have 7 minutes and 14 seconds remaining in the first half. We can see the scoreboard once again, and I do believe it's starting to lift once more. Now, the commissioner is in a real tough spot, wondering whether to stop it, how long it'll last if he does stop it, or whether they should continue the millions of changes that would be involved if the game were postponed. It's just a real tough situation to be in. Jerry James, number 28, teeing up the ball. And Tommy Grant with Jamie Caleb come back to the Hamilton 10-yard line. Here's the boot now by Jerry James. And Ralph Golston comes back for it on the 20 as it's a bit short. Up to the 30-yard line, and he's caught there by Ron Latterall and dropped on the 36. The telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto. .45-yard boot, and Joe Zuger rolling out to his left, chased by Hamlin, hit by Patrick, gets away, and he's still taking off to the 40, to the 45, and he's hit there on the 54-yard line by Dick Thornton, number 14. Joe Zuger. Great star from Arizona, hit by Dick Thornton, a former great quarterback from Northwestern. 17 yards was the length of the gain. And the Hamilton Tiger Cats are 1st and 10 on the Hamilton 54-yard line. Roger Savoy is shaken up.
Just got word from down below, Johnny, that the commissioners ruled that they will definitely proceed with the game at least until halftime.
Okay, well, we have 6 minutes and 33 seconds remaining to the halftime. 14 to 6 is the score. And Roger Savoy is shaken up. There's Joe Zuger, the Hamilton quarterback, who has not had too much success passing this afternoon.
Well, he's ready for that sun in case it comes out again. You can see the eyeshadow under his eyes. Take off the glare. Those aren't two black eyes, just in case you were wondering.
Zuger has completed 1 out of 8 passes for a total of 7 yards. Well, now coming in to replace Roger Savoy will be number 65, Neil Thomas. It's a 1st and 10 situation for the Tiger Cats on their own 54. Easterly and Henley, 20 and 26, move out to the left. Zuger going back to throw down the middle, and it is good. Taken by Easterly on the 40. That's good for 17 yards and a first down as Kenny Plain from safety came up to make the tackle. 14 to 6 is the score, and we've lost that end of the field again. It's coming right back in, and 1st and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the 39-yard line. And Winnipeg looks like they're offside. Joe Zuger takes off. He's hit on the 37-yard line. It is Hamilton, at least the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offside. We just have word from the weather office now. There is no hope for improvement in the weather, and that's bad news. 1st and 5 now on that offside. Hamilton 1st and 5 on the Winnipeg 34-yard line. Again, Zuger and Henley out to the left, and here's Zuger going back to throw, looking to that middle down there, and it's a long one intended for Patterson, and no good. Second down and 5 to go, and we've lost the sign, so we have no idea what the time is. We'd guess at about 5 minutes remaining to halftime. And she's really rolling in off that lake right now. Vitti, the right end. Number 73, Decker, the left end. Number 75, Caleb flanks left. Henley goes in motion left. They hand off to Bobby Kuntz, and Kuntz hit right at that line of scrimmage. The ball is loose, and I don't know whether Winnipeg was in there to recover it before the whistle or not. Yes, they did. They got it. And so the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have recovered on the 35-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10. Well, I've been in some strange sports situations in my lifetime, but nothing can compare with this one. We can just make out the stands on the far side once more. 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on their 35-yard line. That's the first fumble of the game. Lewis, 29, flanks to the right. The left end funds to number 10 is split off. And Hal Ledyard fakes to Shepard. He's hit from behind and dropped back on the 25-yard line. Zeno Kars comes up with a football, and he keeps going, but the whistle had gone. Big Pete Newman was in there to drop him back on the 25. Kars picked up the ball and started to run just in case. And we're getting a 5-minute whistle signal. Well, there's a total loss of 8, making it 2nd down and 18 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who were ruled grounded on the Winnipeg 27-yard line. Kenny Plain is back in at quarterback, and he hands to Leo Lewis, who slants off tackle, heading for the sideline and pulled down on the 33-yard line. He did not quite get back to the original line of scrimmage as Zeno Kars came up on the left corner to pull him down. Leo Lewis set the rushing record, a tremendous average last year of 8.7 yards in the Western Conference. Winnipeg passers have lost 31 yards on 4 plays. Now, I don't know what's happening on the far side of the field. It is 3rd and 12. We assume that that's Shepard back there to punt. Yes, it is, and I have no idea where the ball is. Moving over here is Tommy Grant. He takes it and moves to the 40. And he finally dropped there with Harold Funston moving in on him.
Returning Shepard punt to the Hamilton 43-yard line.
A 7-yard return, and the Tiger Cats have a 1st and 10 on their own 43-yard line. Zuger going to be throwing, and it is no good. Tipped away by Dave Burkholder, number 52, intended for 73, Dave Vitti.
Zuger's pass intended for Beatty. Incomplete.
Second down and 10 to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They've got Hardeman Curran, number 51, at left guard. Kelly, 54, at right guard. Nagurski, 60, at right tackle. DeNoble, 62, at left tackle. And there's Joe Zuger. Got a good close-up on there, and we can take a look at him. Throwing on that right side to Hal Patterson. It's good, and he goes to the Winnipeg 52-yard line. It was Dick Thornton who made the tackle. That gain was good for 15 yards. And our 1st and 10 on the Winnipeg Blue Bomber 52-yard line. Kuntz and Caleb line up in tight. Zuger drops back to pass. He's being chased by somebody. He disappears in the fog on the far side, and I don't know where he's brought down.
Well, I've heard of hidden ball plays, but hidden fog plays is something a little different. Up here on the roof, Johnny, we just barely see them, but down on that, the way those cameras can cut through down a little lower, you get a fair idea. But people up in the higher seats are just guessing not at what's going on, they're guessing at where the field is.
Well, there's nothing you can do, and very little you can say. That looked like a 1st down signal there. The temperature was 49 degrees at the start of the game. There's a 3-minute whistle signal. Now we've gone to our camera at the end of the field so you can get a look at this one. There's Joe Zuger, and he's dropping back to throw. And the pass out there on that left side is good, and stepping into touch is Garney Henley, number 26, being covered by number 70, Norm Rawhouse. Round of applause there for Garney Henley. We now have 2 minutes and 59 seconds remaining to halftime. And there is Jim Trimble. Chet Mixer, 46 at center as the Cats break over the ball. 44 Warren, 52 Burkholder. Zuger rolling out to his right. Still going with the ball. Up to the 10-yard line, and he moves into about the 3-yard line before he is pulled down. Maybe he reached the 2 as Nick Miller, number 24, came over to make the tackle. And we have a player shaken up. That camera that you're seeing that end on the far side of the far end of the field, Paul Dojak, the referee, is coming to the bench, and he is indicating, I think he's probably checking to see the 3-minute whistle.
But we're trying to find out how much time to go, Johnny. He can't see that clock either, and he's a little farther away than we are.
Well, they say that tower camera down there at the far end of the field. We can't see the tower, nor can we see the end of the field looking down, except on our monitors. Hardeman Curran is the injured Hamilton Tiger Cat player. And John Barrow goes in to replace him at offensive left guard. There's the Winnipeg defense. 11 playing the safety man, 52 Burkholder, left side linebacker with 55 Sherwin Thorson. 63, Steve Patrick at middle guard, 61 Hamlin, 44 Warren, and 23 Burke, at least Delvaux. The Hamilton Tiger Cats up over the ball, and it's Joe Zuger handing off to Bobby Kuntz, and he's got the touchdown. Bobby Kuntz is over for the touchdown. Makes it a 14-12 ball game. Johnny Henley and Bobby Kuntz have scored the touchdowns for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And we now have 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining to halftime. The convert attempt, and is it wide? It looks like it's wide. No good. That makes the score 14-12 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Well, in the halftime show that was slated to go 23 minutes, I don't know whether they're going to do it or not because nobody could see it from in the stands. There's number 24, Tim Reed of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Fine rookie going for them as their number 2 fullback or flanker and a linebacker. It's going to be an eerie feeling for that kickoff, and these receivers suddenly going to have to figure out where the ball might be. Don Southern up to the ball, and it's down there somewhere. Well, I haven't any idea what happened to it.
Well, you get an idea of what it's like when you're going down under that thing. You can see all the action going on. You know, you try and follow the play where the action is. And heck, they were nowhere near. I think a few boys figured, well, nobody can see us. Let's settle a few differences.
We now have word that they have decided to cut the halftime to 15 minutes. And I don't know if that's going to help at all. It's a 14-12 ball game, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have the ball back on the Winnipeg 20-yard line. First and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Winnipeg 20. They lead 14-12. And Hal Ledyard is the quarterback. He is blocked back there. The ball came loose. There's a scramble for it, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats have recovered. Hal Ledyard, who had the ball shaken loose, came after it a second time, but the Hamilton Tiger Cats were in there quickly to recover, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats now have the ball on the Winnipeg Blue Bomber 18-yard line. A minute and 41 seconds remaining to halftime. First and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Joe Zuger rolling out to his left, forced back to his right. It's down to the 20. Henley into the 10, the 5, and he's over for a touchdown. Johnny Henley. Full reverse from quarterback Joe Zuger.
Beautiful play there, set up by Zuger. He's been hurting him with those rollouts of his. They had to be aware of him. They sent a man in motion in that direction. Pulled the Winnipeg defense over there, and then that speedy Henley came around with lots of blocking in front of him, little fancy running, and he walked in there for that touchdown.
Well, a minute and 23 seconds left to halftime. 18-14, and the convert is good, which makes it 19-14. Fog is starting to lift again for a moment. And we have a minute and 23 seconds remaining in the half. Winnipeg is now behind 19-14. But just for a moment, when it appears like the fog is lifting and you can see the field again, it comes right back down just as quickly. Garney Henley has scored his second touchdown of the game. One went 74 yards. This one went 18 yards. There's the kick by Don Southern. And down there somewhere is the ball.
Well, actually, it isn't as bad for the ball players right out there as it appears on the screen. I think your vision is pretty good for about 50 yards, but we're a couple of 100 yards away from the screen, so are the cameras. Makes it a little tough, but that looked like a lot of action. I don't know what happened, but it looked interesting.
The ball is on the Winnipeg 45-yard line, 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And Hal Ledyard fakes the fullback draw, throwing out here on the left side is good to the 50. Ernie Pitts back to the Hamilton 50, and he's dragged down on the 48-yard line by number 12, Gary Schreider. Number 77, Ernie Pitts. The 1-minute flag is up. 54 seconds remaining in the first half of play, with Hamilton leading 19-14.
First down Winnipeg. Ball to Hamilton, 48-yard line.
17 yards was the length of the gain. And, man, we're going to have something to tell our grandchildren about, aren't we?
I wonder what those people in Vancouver are chortling about. I hear some loud chuckles. There's only one place it can be coming from, probably Bill Clancy.
1st and 10 as the 1-minute flag is still up. Here's Kenny Plain looking to his left, gives here to Funston. Funston is dropped on the 36-yard line. That's good for 13 yards and a first down. 30 seconds remaining in the first half. Kenny Plain stepping back. He faked that quick pass and then took one step to his left and hit Farrell Funston. Now Plain goes out of the ball game, and Hal Ledyard is in. 21 Shepard, 28 James, 29 Lewis. Hal Ledyard going straight back this time. The rush is on down the middle, and it's good to Leo Lewis to the 20, the 15, the 10. He's gone. Leo Lewis for his second touchdown.
Well, there was a play sent in from the bench, and oh, what a beautiful execution there. They hit Farrell Funston with a quick pass. Leo Lewis trailing. Funston didn't seem to have his hands on it at all. He just took it and flipped it over, and Leo Lewis broke away for that touchdown.
20-19 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with 20 seconds remaining in the half. Kenny Plain will hold. Jerry James will attempt. The boot is good. It is now a 21-19 ball game. This would have been a great half of football to see. We'll show you some of those highlight plays at halftime. Well, there's the official word from Commissioner Sidhaller that they have reduced it by 2:15 minutes at halftime, and the most optimistic report, or the best thing we've heard since that fog rolled in yesterday, was for some improvement. One reason why they decided at 11 o'clock this morning to gamble on going ahead with this game, of course, was the fact that the weatherman said he couldn't promise anything any better for tomorrow. Caleb is back along with Tommy Grant on this kickoff. We have to stay to the ground camera there to try to see what's happening on that far side of the field, unless the vision was blocked. But we have no alternative to go to a high camera here. 47-yard boot and an 8-yard run back. Gordy Walker, a statistician, must have some radar to get that. 1st and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 29. This is the last play of the half. The gun finally sounds to end it, with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers leading the Hamilton Tiger Cats 21-19. Telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto.
Well, Mr. Poloni, everybody else is talking about it. Have you ever played in anything even remotely approaching this situation?
No, Steve, I've never played in any type of elements such as are out there today. The ball players are playing in a tremendous fog, and I've never had an opportunity to play in such a
mud and snow and bad wind, but nothing
never
like this.
fog.
Eh? All right. Incidentally, does this ball game remind you of any Grey Cup game you've played in?
Yes, Steve, 1958, I believe, playing in Vancouver when it was a 35-28 ball game, and it was a seesaw game back and forth. And this game today is very similar to that. And two ball players out there in the field are really vying for that outstanding ball player of the game, Garney Henley from the Hamilton Tiger Cats and Leo Lewis from Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Henley's outstanding breakaway speed was evident in his 74-yard touchdown run and the second touchdown on the reverse and his brilliant pass catching ability. And the same was accounted for Leo Lewis when he was catching that pass and broke away for the long touchdown run and the quick off tackle, his power and so forth. Two great football players, two great teams playing out there, and certainly is an exciting Grey Cup, Steve.
Well, Bernie, under the horrible conditions, it's an amazing Grey Cup. Breaks, certainly, and penalties have played some part in the ball game so far, and we're anxious to see what's going to happen in the second half. And right now, let's find out exactly what's happening at the stadium during halftime.
Here they are, there's Winnipeg Blue Bombers with the ball. This was early in the game when the sun was shining and the fog hadn't arrived. This is what this game is supposed to look like. We can't see it at the moment, but Winnipeg are punting here. Tommy Grant, Don Southern. Notice they don't put expendables back on the punts here. Don Southern with the ball, and give you an idea of the kind of tackling that's been going out there. The boys are, I think the word expression is playing for keeps.
I would say this is when they have to do it.
And the Hamilton Tiger Cats with first down on their own 29-yard line. Here they are breaking the huddle. Oh, that sun looks good. Joe Zuger, there's the handoff to Bobby Kuhn. They're seem to be working on the tackles, and they're taking a lot of the part I can't understand so far, Brad, is the way they're taking dead aim at Herbie Gray. This is a department that you normally stay away from.
That ankle injury of Herb is no doubt about it is giving him problems. He's been blocked out on early plays. He's always a threat.
Well, here it comes now. Watch number 26 here. Want to see that unbalanced Hamilton line? There he goes, popping right through, beats one man, and now watch the block. Beautiful block there by Caleb, and now watch Dave Beatty. And notice how this Henley sets up the blocks. Just made it over the goal line. But there's a beautiful exhibition of running where a kid makes it just that much easier for his blockers. The telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto.
Well, the statistical board is a reflection of the scoreboard. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have an edge in first downs, 13-10. The Tiger Cats have a big edge on rushing, thanks to Garney Henley, 162 yards to 75 for Winnipeg. Passing, here's where Winnipeg has the big edge. 10 out of 17 completed for 167 yards. Hamilton, 4 out of 12 for 68 yards. There have been no interceptions. Each team fumbled once, and in each case, the other side recovered. Penalties, 3 penalties for 20 yards against Winnipeg, 5 for 55 yards against the Tiger Cats. Punt, 6 by each team. Hamilton has a slight edge, about 1 yard per punt. No field goals have been tried. Individual standouts, Leo Lewis has picked up 35 yards rushing and has picked up another 54 yards on 3 passes. Kenny Plain has 42 yards rushing on the only 2 rushes he made. Ernie Pitts has caught 3 of the Winnipeg passes for 64 yards. Garney Henley, as we mentioned before, is the standout for Hamilton, 92 yards on 2 rushes, and he also caught 1 pass, good for 29 yards. And Joe Zuger, whose passing hasn't been too good, has shown up as a pretty good runner, 39 yards on 3 rushes.
Thank you very much, Gordy Walker. And now let's watch these square dancers go again.
Like that. Spread those circles out to a great big ring, a royal ring. That's what you do. Now swing that girl, you do. Swing that girl, that pretty little girl. Now 1 and 4, Alum and left. Grand, right and left. A royal grand. A royal grand. You can meet those two and circle up 4. That's what you do. Swing in 4s, around you go. Swing in 4s. Make it 8. It's 8 in a ring by the garden gate. Circle up 8 till you get straight. Now all join hands to the center fall. Now bow to your partner. You're proud too. And promenade.
Oh, just a reminder, the telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto.
Bernie, half a ball game to go. How do the players feel right now?
Well, they're probably thinking about right now that this is the second half coming up. It's been a real tight ball game, 19-21, and I think that the ball players are going to be coming out ready. We can win. Both clubs are saying this. We know we can win. It should be a real good second half. And I know that the fans are looking forward to it, and the ball players are too. So when they come out in the second half, I think you'll see a lot of good hard tackling, such as the first half has shown, and possibly a little less passing because that fog is pretty tough. And let's get back to the second half in just a few minutes.
The teams have returned to the field, and they're anxious and ready to go. The halftime show is unfortunately not going to be able to finish. And like everybody else who has worked so hard for so long to prepare for this real big day in Canadian sports history, all unfortunately have to suffer somewhat because of the weather conditions, over which, of course, there is no control. The Hamilton Tiger Cats with Coach Jim Trimble. They trail 21-19 at halftime, and it is a well-known fact that the Hamilton Tiger Cats have been the second half club, certainly of the Eastern Conference. Winnipeg Blue Bombers are the counterpart in the Western Conference, having won their games in the second half and in certainly the late stages of the second half, as you Calgary fans so well know. There you see Frank Cosentino, number 11, warming up for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Cosentino is a third-year quarterback with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and we may see something of Cosentino in this second half. He was good for 6 touchdowns and completed 47% of his passes in the all of the season in which he played. Montreal people wondering why nobody's talking about the Grey Cup for Montreal in 1967. Well, you never know. The teams are getting ready. They're lining up there, but we still have some of the performers down there at one end of the field, and it's going to take a moment before we can get that part of the field cleared up and get ready to go again. There you see Don Southern getting ready for the kickoff. The referee is Paul Dojak. The umpires are Seymour Wilson, Bill Nairn, Norm Maxwell, with Jim Piper and Ray Boucher, the head linesman and the field judge. Now, Winnipeg holds most of the Western Conference pass receiving records, or maybe you should say Ernie Pitts does. He holds the record for the most touchdown passes with 16, the most yards gained on passes with 1,126, and is tied with his present coach, Bud Grant, for the most receptions with 68. Well, we're ready to go now, and there is the kickoff by Don Southern. We can see the field, although the far end down there is not too clear. Leo Lewis takes it on the 10, to the 15, to the 20, 25, 30, up to the 35, is hit on the 35 and dragged down on the 36-yard line by Ken Kilray, number 16. Number 61, John Barrow, 64, Bob Minahane standing by. 57-yard kickoff, a 28-yard return, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have a 1st and 10 on the Winnipeg Blue Bomber 37-yard line. It's 21-19 in favor of Winnipeg as we get set for the first play from scrimmage in the second half of the 62 Grey Cup. Leo Lewis sets out wide to the left as quarterback Kenny Plain Gets his offense rolling. Halfbacks in motion right. Plane down the center. Intended for Ernie Pitts. Rolled out of his hands. In and out of the hands of Ralph Goldston and incomplete. That'll make it second down. And 10 to go for Winnipeg on the Winnipeg 37. Hamilton has Schreider on the right corner and Carson on the left, but they have Don Southern moving up almost onto the line to cover Jerry James, the fullback, who's flanking wide to the left. Kenny Plain back in the pocket. The big rush is on. The screen up the middle is Shepard to the 45, and he's dropped on the 45-yard line by Zeno Kars. That's the same play they used late in the second quarter where they open that middle, let the big line charge in, then they dump that screen ahead. And the gain is to the 46-yard line, which makes it third down and 1 to go. And Coach Bud Grant is not taking any chances. Rick Potter, 26, and number 24, Nick Miller, come in. And therefore, it means a punting situation. Charlie Shepard will boot from the Winnipeg 32. They're only a yard away from the first down, but they're not taking any chances with that slim lead. Shepard pounds a low wobbler that comes down to Southern on the 22. He faked the lateral, keeps going to the 25, and gets away from lateral and is dropped on the 29-yard line. Ernie Pitts was down there to make it, and that tackle stopped him on a 6-yard run back after a 42-yard boot. It is first and 10 now for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 29-yard line. There's Joe Zuger with his offensive tackles, Nagurski 60 and DeNoble 62. Immediate left end 73. Caleb goes in motion right with Henley. Bobby Kuntz takes the handoff, and he's met on the 33-yard line and dropped by Jack Delvo. Steve Patrick. And the rest of that big Winnipeg defensive line with Hamlin helping out. It's a gain of 3, second down, and 7 yards to go. And Bobby Kuntz has been having a tough time with that Winnipeg defensive line this afternoon. I think it's been one of the key factors in the scores that stands at the moment. Joe Zuger fumbles the ball, picks it up, passes good to Decker, and Decker laterals wild. It's picked up back on the 48-yard line, and Hal Patterson has recovered. And it looks like he has sufficient for the first down. Well, Joe Zuger fumbled the ball, picked it up, threw a strike to Paul Decker, 75. Decker was hit. He threw laterally and wildly, intending it for Hal Patterson. He recovered, and it is now first and 10, Hamilton on the Hamilton 42. Henley, 26, breaks off in motion left. And Joe Zuger hands to Bobby Kuntz, tries to turn the corner this time, and he makes it to the 50-yard line for a gain of 8. They changed Bobby Kuntz's pattern there. Instead of trying to split the tackle and end where he's been having trouble, they sent him outside the end this time, and Garland Warren, number 44, the right inside backer, was over there to make the tackle. Second down and 3 to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Going low with the cameras now as the handoff is taken by Kuntz. The fog is rolling in heavier again. And looks like they've stopped him on about the 52. Nick Miller, number 24, made the tackle. And they appear to be short of a first down by about a yard. The Hamilton fans start the go, go, go chant to gamble on 3rd and 1. And that's probably what they're going to do because there's no action on the bench.
Well, Hardeman Kiernan indicated that there's about the length of the ball to go, Johnny.
Third down and 1, and the straight dive to the center, and it doesn't look like he made it. Looks like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will take over as Bobby Kuntz was met head on. And then there to greet him was Steve Patrick. Telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto. It's coming down. It's thicker than ever again now. We can't see the far side of the field. So we'll have to go down on the ground to take a look at this play. First and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And it's Kenny Plain taking one handoff, throwing back to the opposite side, and it's no good. Incomplete. Zeno Cars is over there to cover Farrell Funston. And it'll be second down and 10 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Hamilton 51. And Vince Scott is rushed into the ball game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Scott plays either the defensive left tackle or defensive right tackle, which is what he's been doing most of the year. Ron Ray is the injured Hamilton Tiger Cat player as he comes to the bench. Winnipeg Blue Bombers are second down and 10. And it's Kenny Plain rolling out to his right this time. And he is caught back there. A loss of 9 yards on the play, which will make it third down and 19 to go. Back to the Winnipeg Blue Bomber 50-yard line, and there is a Hamilton Tiger Cat player shaken up on the play. Zeno Karts is the injured Hamilton player. 21-19 is the score. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers leading the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And again, we can't see the clock, so we're going to have to try to guess at the times for you. Bobby Kuntz will go in to replace Zeno Kars on the left corner. Well, that should scare the fog away. Maybe that was aimed at the weatherman. Winnipeg quarterbacks have been thrown for losses 5 times this afternoon, and that's a total loss of 40 yards. It is now third down and 19 to go, and this is going to be a very exciting play on this punt. Boot by Shepard. And let's see, it's coming back to the 15-yard line, taken on the 20 to the 25, and running the ball back to the 25-yard line was Tommy Grant. They ruled that he was dropped on the 26, so it'll be first and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats there. 46-yard boot, a 12-yard return. Jamie Caleb is the ball carrier as he moves into the 30-yard line, reaching over to that 31. And he picks up 4 yards. It'll be second down and 6 to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Judd Gray, Herbie Gray, and Delvo made the tackles. And it is a second and 6 situation for Hamilton on the 30-yard line. That's the first time Caleb has carried the ball in this afternoon's ball game. And we thought we saw the field there for a moment, but another big wave comes in as the play goes to its left as Joe Zerger still rolling out. And he is finally dropped just over the 55-yard line. It was Kenny Plain who made the tackle. There's a clipping signal. A clipping penalty on the play. And we can't see the official to see who it is against. It looks like the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and that's the direction he is now pointing. Kenny Plain stands by the referee, Paul Dojak, as they bring the ball back in. It was a second and 6 situation. Zuger had picked up the first down, but the clipping penalty brings it back. Clipping penalty was against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Well, I don't think there have ever been as many U.S.-trained football players in a Grey Cup game. In addition to 13 imports aside, Hamilton has 13 naturalized Canadians with Golston, Scott, and Puritan. Well, it is now second down and 6 to go for the Tiger Cats on the 30, depending on whether they march those sticks back. And make it first down back on the 21. Because they had made the first down before the clipping penalty occurred, they bring it back to the point, march off the yardage, and make it first down. So the Hamilton Tiger Cats have the ball as Joe Zuger hands off up the center, and it's number 61 Hamlin hitting Bobby Kuntz. There's a loss of a yard on the play. It'll be second down and 11 to go, back on the 20.
Winnipeg have that play that they were using Hamilton were using so effectively against Montreal, well scouted. That's the one where they send all the men in motion one direction and sort of send Bobby Kuntz off on what we call the short end. But Winnipeg have been waiting for him all afternoon.
Second down, 11 to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who trail 21 to 19. Here's Joker taking a lot of time. Joe Zucker throwing long and deep down there. There's a great catch. And Arnie Henley was the ball player who came up with that ball.
We just got word that Joe Radsick, the Hamilton spotter, has given up completely. He's gone down to the bench to see if he can see some of the game.
The telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto. A 53-yard pass to Garney Henley, and here we have action rolling to the right, and I can't tell. I have any idea what happened there.
Joe Zucker rolled out again, threw a forward pass. I couldn't see who it was. It looked like the way he was running, it looked like Garney Henley. He just ran away from everybody, and he's about the only guy that can do that.
All we know is that the Hamilton Tiger Cats have gone on top again. 25 to 21, and they haven't had too much success kicking converts. And those missed converts could be the telling factor when this is all over. Dave Beatty, we now have word from down below that it was Dave Beatty who caught that touchdown pass. Convert is good. Dave Beatty caught the pass, and it's an amazing thing. There's Sid Halter, the commissioner, just wondering what he can do next.
He says it's lifting. He says it's lifting either that or he's trying to lift it.
26 to 21 is now the score in favor of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Boy, we really built up to a great classic this year, and it's just a shame that you can't see it. Hamilton Tiger Cats with Don Southern kicking to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We can see a little bit of the field again now. 7 minutes and 58 seconds remaining in the third quarter. There's Don Southern up to the ball. Somebody has it back to the 25. It looks got to be Leo Lewis. Nobody else runs like that through the fog. The 50 to the 45. There's only one man, Tim Reed, and he finally brings him down on the 32-yard line. Well, it's going to be a 1st and 10, a 54-yard kick, a 67-yard return, and it was Leo Lewis who carried it. Winnipeg Blue Bombers are 1st and 10 on the Hamilton 32-yard line. Bombers over the ball, and Hal Ledyard is now in there at quarterback, and Ledyard hands off, and it goes into the 28-yard line. That looked like Jerry James carrying the ball. Yes, it was Jerry James. 2nd down and 6 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Hamilton Tiger Cat 28. Number 10, Farrell Funston. 29 is Lewis, 21 Shepard, 28 is Jerry James, and number 12 is the quarterback, Hal Ledyard, who did such a great job for the Bombers in the 2 years he's been there. He's been a great old fireman for them. And here is Ledyard. Fakes once, throws out on the left side, and it's good defense to the 25, and he's hit hard by Sam Fernandez, number 25, and piled up on the 21-yard line. It's good enough for the first down. The score is 26 to 21 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And I noticed another change here with Zeno Karst going in. Vince Scott is coming out. So they're going into a 4-man line, now a 5-man line, trying to get the rush on in this 1st and 10 situation. Lewis goes in motion right. They fake to Shepard. Give to Lewis. Lewis is hit on the 20 and is driven back. Angelo Mosca made the tackle on Leo Lewis, and it is now 2nd down. They ruled that he had reached the 19-yard line before he was driven back, so it's a gain of 1.5 yards. It'll be 2nd down and about 9 to go. 2nd down, 9 to go for Winnipeg on the Hamilton 19-yard line. Winnipeg Blue Bombers moving after that long run back. Here is Ledger dropping back, throwing out here on the left side. Lewis is wide open, and he gives a straight arm. He's down to the 5. He slips and falls on the 3-yard line. He gave a straight arm there to Gary Schreider that knocked him right back, and Lewis took off and was finally ruled down on the 4. There's the scoreboard again for the first time in some time, 26-21 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Winnipeg with 5 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the first, or at least the 3rd quarter. Joe Zuger goes in at safety. Sam Fernandez comes out. Schreider goes to middle linebacker. Don Southern comes up on the right corner. There's Winnipeg now getting set. It's 1st and goal to go on the Hamilton 4-yard line. And they hand off to Charlie Shepard. He's over for the touchdown. Charlie Shepard. Charlie Shepard. And that's the first time Charlie Shepard has carried the ball this afternoon. So the 28-year-old veteran from North Texas State, in his 6th year with Winnipeg, comes back to get a big one for them. And that now makes the score 27-26 for Winnipeg. Jerry James trying for the extra point, and it is good. It is good. 28-26 now for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Well, I tell you, we just got to get that weatherman some tickets on the 55-yard line next year. We can't have him this mad at us again. Winnipeg Blue Bombers huddling before their kickoff. It's Jerry James teeing up the ball. James, who came right out of high school football to go with the Bombers 10 years ago. He's up to the ball, and he pounds it down to the 30. It's a bit of a bouncer over there, and is finally fielded by Caleb to the 25, the 30, cuts back into the middle, hit by Ernie Pitts, and dropped on the 37-yard line. Jamie Caleb brings the ball back to the Hamilton 37, where it'll be 1st and 10. 47-yard boot, a 19-yard return.
And here she comes again.
Kenny Plain is talking to the referee, Paul Dojak, and I wonder if they're talking about the weather. Captain Paul Decker of the Hamilton Tiger Cats moves into the conversation as well. Whatever it was, they're satisfied. Hamilton offensively are setting up with Beatty and Decker. The Noble, Nagurski, Curtin, Mixa, and Kelly. And here we go, 1st and 10. And Joe Zuger hands off to Bobby Kuntz to the 40, into the 44-yard line before he is stopped by Nick Miller. And that is a gain of 7 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 3 to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 44. Number 7, Hal Patterson, splits off to the right. There's 30, Caleb. And they have Joe Zuger faking a Kuntz, steps around that corner, and is finally driven out. Just at about the 48, and the telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto. First and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. On the Cats 48. And Joe Zuger gives to Jamie Caleb. Tries to slant off left tackle. Moves into the 52-yard line. And I'd just like to say to our confrere Jack Wells, who got a bad dose of the flu for the last 2 days and was ordered by the doctor to stay in his hospital room up there, or at least his room at the hotel, and was unable to be with us today. He's probably lucky. Joe Zuger throwing to Garney Henley on that sideline, back into the middle, into the 45-yard line, back to the 50, up to the 45 again, and he disappears on that side somewhere. Oh, he got a first down out of it as Garney Henley got to the 40-yard line and I believe made it to about the Winnipeg 38. And Kenny Plain was in to make the tackle. We have a Winnipeg player shaken up. The gain was 19 yards. And Herbie Gray, way back here on the 45-yard line, just make him out down there, is being helped. He's getting off and going off under his own steam now, so Herbie Gray is okay. Tommy Grant goes into the ball game to replace Garney Henley. And I guess we've got about 3 minutes left in the third quarter, if that much. We'll get another time here for you. It is first and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Winnipeg 38. Joe Zuger rolling out to his right once more behind Ellison Kelly, throwing down to that sideline, and no, it looks like it shook loose. There's a penalty, a rough play called on the player who hit Tommy Grant. There's the rough play signal. I wonder how the historians are going to treat this one. The ball is brought back to the about the 23, so it'll be an automatic first down for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the ball is placed on the 24-yard line. So that's where it is, first and 10 now for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Winnipeg 24. Winnipeg lines up, and they give them that big middle there, trying to get the rush. Joe Zuger back to throw down deep in that long right sideline, and it goes incomplete. And Garney Henley almost draped over the steel railing. Just about 3 minutes remaining in the third quarter of play. Back to the 25-yard line, ready to go again in a second and 10 situation for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And here's Zuger faking to the fullback, rolling out to the right again, throwing down there, intending it for Paul Decker. Dick Thornton was over to cover, and it's incomplete. It'll be third and 10.
Zuger's pass attempt is incomplete. Third down.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers 28, the Hamilton Tiger Cats 26, with less than 3 minutes remaining to the end of the third quarter, and I believe I see some sun up there somewhere. Frank Cosentino goes in to hold on a field goal attempt about the 32-yard line, and everybody moving in. It looks like it must have been good because nobody was trying to run it back. We haven't seen a signal as yet. It'll be at least a single point. Winnipeg not trying to run it out. It was a wide field goal, and so the score is now 28-27.
You're watching the 1962 Grey Cup Classic on CBC. The fog and the plot is thickening.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers will scrimmage first and 10 from the Winnipeg 25 following the single point scored by Hamilton. Hal Ledyard, number 12, is the quarterback. Straight back, fakes once, throwing down to that long right side this time. And there's a fine catch over there by Ernie Pitts as he steps right into that Blue Bomber bench. And he went out at the 52-yard line. So that's good for a gain of 27 yards. And now we can see that third quarter, or at least the far side of the field for the first time now in the third quarter. 28-27, Winnipeg over Hamilton. The Blue Bombers are on their own 52-yard line. Flankers to the left, and Ledyard hands off to Leo Lewis. Lewis goes to the midfield stripe and is piled up right on the 55-yard line. Hit him there by Sam Fernandez, and it is a gain of 3. It'll be second down and 7. Second down and 7 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right on the midfield stripe. Original line of scrimmage on this sequence was the Winnipeg 52. Now at midfield, and we have a change in quarterbacks with Hal Ledyard going out and Kenny Plain coming in. 28-27 is the score for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Lewis and Henley have each scored 2. Lateral flanks out to the left. Lewis goes in motion right. They fake the Shepherd. Plain slips and falls, and then is hit there by Ron Ray. Just back of the line of scrimmage about a yard. It'll be a 3rd and 8 situation. 53 seconds remaining in the third quarter.
No gain on the play. Third down.
Third down and 8 yards to go. They lost 1. They're back to the 54. And Don Southern will come back with Garney Henley for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 15 and 10-yard lines respectively. Charlie Shepherd boots from the Winnipeg 40. He's got a dandy, and this one comes to Henley on the 12. First man in is Rick Potter. Henley steps by him and then is dropped on the 21-yard line. Johnny Henley hit by Sherwin Thorson, number 55, and there's the 1-minute flag, still up. 31 seconds showing on the clock. 44-yard boot, a 9-yard return. Hamilton Tiger Cats down 28-27, or first down on their own 21-yard line. And we have Joe Zuger handing off to Bobby Coons, cut from behind by Dave Burkholder and dropped on the 25. Garland Warren, number 44, and the talk was just before the game that Warren was a definite non-starter. But, boy, he's in there and hanging real tough. Second down and 6 to go for the Tiger Cats on the 25-yard line. Easterly 20 and Henley 26 out to the left. Caleb 30 and Patterson 7 out to the right. And here is Zuger trying to get Patterson down deep there for a touchdown pass. And he was being covered there by Dick Thornton. Now Norm Rawhouse of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is trying to claim offensive interference, but it's an incompleted pass. Gun sounds to end the third quarter with Winnipeg leading 28-27, and the telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto. Winnipeg is 18 first downs, Hamilton 16, and in 3 quarters we're ready to go with a 28-27 ball game. The forecaster says it's going to clear again. And the boot by Joe Zuger on a third down situation. He's got a dandy. Lateral goes all the way back to his 30, up to the 35, heading to the sideline, the 40, brought down by Angelo Mosca on the 40-yard line. So it'll be a 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Winnipeg 40. 55-yard boot and a 10-yard run back.
1st and 10 Blue Bombers.
This is the first Grey Cup game that has grossed over $500,000. 10 years ago, it was valued at $125,000. That's total receipts. 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Winnipeg 40. And Hal Ledyard, the quarterback. Number 12. Lewis flanks way wide to the left. Pitch the right end is split off. Lateral goes in motion. And here's Ledyard rolling out. Going down the middle, and it is intercepted by Fernandez up to the 45. And he comes back to the 43 and has dropped on the 41-yard line. Sam Fernandez goes up in the air to intercept that Ledyard pass, and he returns the ball to the Winnipeg 41-yard line where the Cats have a 1st and 10. That is the first pass interception of the ball game. Hamilton first and 10 on the Winnipeg 41-yard line. Joe Zuger hands it up to Garney Henley, and he tries to veer back over center, and he is knocked off stride by Steve Patrick, number 63, the middle guard. And Hamlin, the defensive right tackle, number 61. So it is a gain of a little bit less than 3, about 2, and that makes it 2nd and 8. Winnipeg now has Cease Looning in there playing a defensive left end in place of Herb Gray. Savoy is back in a tackle with Patrick, Hamlin, and Delville, the balance of that defensive line. Caleb peels out and goes in motion. Here is Zuger throwing a long one down there, intending it for Easterly. It's knocked down. Knocked down, and back there with Nick Miller waving his arms in the air, 24, in desperation. Thought he should have been able to intercept that one. It is 3rd down and 8 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who are unable to move the ball following the interception and the return. Winnipeg has completed 14 out of 23 passes for 223 yards. Hamilton 8 out of 20 for 186 yards. 1 interception. Hamilton has taken 70 yards in penalties. Winnipeg 35. It's going to be a field goal attempt from the 45-yard line by Don Southern. He kicked 12 to tie the record in the league play this year. This one is short. And Lateral comes up to the ball on the 5-yard line. Puts his head down to the 9. He's dropped on the 9. Ron Watton, who was in there to snap for the field goal, was down to make the tackle on Lateral.
And famous last words by the weatherman. He assured us that the fog would lift.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are 1st and 10 on the Winnipeg 9-yard line, just in front of their goalposts. And it's a 28-27 ball game. Joe Williams in that offensive backfield, but they hand off to Leo Lewis, who picks his way to the 13-yard line. So that's a gain of 5. It'll be 2nd down. And just a little bit more than 5 yards to go. Fernandez in there to make the tackle. Wire from Vancouver. Roses in bloom over Empire Stadium. All is visible. 2nd down. 5.5 yards to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. On the 13, the Winnipeg 13-yard line. Lateral split wide to the right. And the pass down that far side. Sounds like it's incomplete. Complete, rather, as they move the sticks on down the field. Among the strange things that are happening today, after a total of 15 punts, both of these teams are averaging exactly 42.2 yards. 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Winnipeg 30. Al Ledyard is still the quarterback. Pitches out on the right side, and carrying the ball is Leo Lewis. Stopped by the left side of that Hamilton line, led by Angelo Mosca and number 61, John Barrow, the middle guard, with Grant McKee, 17.
It was a great shot of the way Lewis carries that ball. Keeps on amazing you how somebody doesn't steal it away from him. And Johnny's been doing that for a long while, and I haven't seen anybody steal it yet.
Gain of 2 yards in the play for Winnipeg, 2nd and 8.
Second down and 8 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. There's Lateral flanking to the right, and Ledyard faking to the fullback in motion and throwing down at that left side. And it looks like it's a completed pass up there near the 50-yard line.
Ernie Pitts caught that one, Johnny. He's coming up with another one of his ball games. He seems to save his best ones for the playoffs and that Grey Cup game.
Ten minutes remaining in the 4th and final quarter. 28-27 is the score for Winnipeg. And the handoff Good for a gain of about 2. Leo Lewis with Joe Williams 22 blocking. And John Barrow made the tackle. Second down and 7 yards to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Winnipeg 48-yard line. Well, Ledyard steps out of that huddle. Looks like somebody is injured out there. Garney Henley is going in for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And at this point, we have lost all contact with the field. Visually, that is. Jerry James is the injured ball player. And we have one of the umpires coming over to the timekeeper's bench to check on the time, because he can't see the clock either, even from down there on field level.
But some hold up to both hands with all fingers. How much time is that?
Have to go to our statistician for that one. Second down and 8 to go, the situation. Winnipeg Blue Bombers holding on to that 28-27 lead. The missed converts have been a big factor in this one. There's Ledyard throwing down to that left side. Looks like a completed pass because they're getting ready to move the sticks, but we have no way of finding out yet. The telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto. They're measuring for the first down on that Winnipeg pass, just at the midfield stripe. Doesn't look like they had quite enough for the first down. We're going to go out and measure it once again just to make sure. Oh, boy. Kenny Plain has just come back in for Ledyard, and on the second measure, it looks like they now have the first down.
On the Hamilton 54. Well, that was an incompleted forward pass. I feel sorry for the poor PA guy. He just guessing out there. Ledyard had been him, so he called Ledyard, but it was Kenny Plain throwing out into the flat, and it missed.
Oh, boy, that's all we can see down there now. We can just see the helmets on the Hamilton bench, and we can see the near sideline. The fog is worse now than it has been all day.
Now Ledyard's back in at quarterback now, Johnny.
I heard a couple of whistles out there in the field somewhere, and Paul Dojak has come to the commissioner on the sideline. This is the heaviest the fog has been, and there's the commissioner now with the Secretary Harry McBride, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they're going to have to decide to hold this for a while, because it's now the heaviest it has been. Telecast in this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto. Well, there you see the two teams lined up from where they're going to start. And the referee, Paul Dojak, now moves out onto the field. It is 2nd and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Hamilton 54-yard line. The referee, Paul Dojak, is placing the ball, and we're going to be underway for this 9 minutes and 29 seconds, and the 25,000 or more fans start their chant real early. It's going to be Kenny Plain for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at quarterback, with Jerry James in the backfield, along with Latterell, Lewis, and Joe Williams. And here we go. It's a 2nd and 10 situation. And we have the backs in motion. Kenny Plain is rolling out to his right. There's a flag in the play. Plain is stopped on the 54-yard line. Hamilton is offside. Vince Scott came in to make the tackle, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats were offside on the play as Plain came out on a rollout. It looked like he was going to be throwing to Leo Lewis. The big middle opened up, and just as he was debating whether to run or throw, when he saw that space, he decided to stay in there and throw, and he was hit by Scott. It'll be 2nd down over again, but with 5 yards to go now for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Hamilton Tiger Cat 49-yard line. Kenny Plain goes out, and coming in will be number 12, Hal Ledyard, for the Blue Bombers. And there's the defensive setup for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 2nd down and 5. Lewis split out wide to the right. Funston wide to the left. Plain throwing to Funston. Funston trying to get away from the first man, is dropped on the 45-yard line. And it was Hal Patterson, number 7, who pulled him down after hitting him on the 46. He rolls to the 45. Sam Fernandez, 25, from Miami, came over to make the tackle, and it'll now be 3rd down and 1 yard to go. And Coach Bud Grant, winner of the last 3 Grey Cups, he has participated in it, all against Jim Trimble, and both formerly from the Eagles, are going to come out in punt formation with Jack Delbo, former Illinois Star, now in there on the 52-yard line, the Winnipeg 52 to boot. It's 3rd down and 1 to go. And back to receive is Don Southern and Garney Henley. There's the boot by Delbo. Got a bit of a wobble on it. Southern on his own 10-yard line. Cuts to his right and is dropped on the 12-yard line. And moving in there quickly to get him was number 10, Farrell Funston, along with 71, Frank Rigney. 35-yard punt and a 3-yard return, and it'll be 1st and 10 for the Cats at that point. 28-27 is the score for Winnipeg. 8 minutes, 27 seconds remaining. Now Frank Cosentino, number 11, a 3rd-year man from Western Ontario, is the quarterback, as Joe Zuger, the Arizona Star, suffered an injury to the ankle in yesterday's game. Caleb, 30, and Easterly, 20, flank out to the left. And back and rolling to his left now is Cosentino. He is going to take off with it to the 15, the 20, into the 25, the 30, keeps going to the 32, and he's hit by Kenny Plain, the Winnipeg safety man, along with number 14, Dick Thornton. How about that for a starter here, Stuke?
Well, there was a switch. This kid Cosentino caught them cold on that. They know, Winnipeg know him as a passer. I don't think they've ever seen him run too much. And on this one, Johnny, he took off like Bernie Poloni, Kenny Plain, any of those good runners. He really turned on a burst of speed there. I knew that Frank could move. I didn't know he had that turn. Kenny Plain hadn't come over to make that tackle. He was going to go a lot farther.
It'll be 1st and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 32, and we're having changes already. Neil Thomas from Hillsdale College comes in to replace Roger Savoy, a defensive left tackle. Sherwin Thorson comes in to replace Garland Warren as the linebacker. Dick Easterly comes out of the game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. No, he comes out as a flanker wide on the left side. Caleb is the slot back, and the handoff is to Garney Henley. Behind to the right side to the 35, is hit by Dick Thornton and driven out on the 37-yard line. And that is a gain of 5 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 5 to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The score is 28-27 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers over Hamilton. And we have 7 minutes, 36 seconds remaining. And here we go with the offensive setup for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, with Beatty and Decker as the ends. Nagurski and DeNoble the tackles. And flank again is Caleb out to the left, Easterly to the left. Kuntz the fullback in tight, and here is Cosentino on the right side, and it is good to Hal Patterson. He steps out on the 45-yard line. That is a gain of very close to 10 yards and a 1st down. Hal Patterson, the former Kansas Star, playing in his 9th year of Canadian professional football, gets the Hamilton Tiger Cats the 1st down. 28-27 for Winnipeg. And looks like it could be heading for one of those situations where that punt is going to be returned out of the end zone, and probably more than once. Cosentino, number 11, the quarterback, bumps into his fullback Bobby Kuntz, and Kuntz dives into the 48-yard line, hit there by Roger Hamlin, defensive right tackle, a rookie with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and Jack Delvo, 23, a defensive right end. Second down and 6 yards to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, just on their own 49-yard line. 40 degrees is the temperature here in Toronto. There's a look at the offensive unit as they break with 23, Bobby Kuntz. Behind number 11, his quarterback, Frank Cosentino. Same spread formation, then they reverse to the right with Cosentino rolling out to the 45, throwing intended for Patterson, and it's no good. Al Patterson being covered by Dick Thornton, number 14. The telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto. Well, it's developing into what we thought we were going to see all day yesterday. It was, except that you couldn't see it all. Joe Zuger, top punter in U.S. college football last year from Arizona, rookie with the Cats, back in the 35, almost blocked by Delvo. Moving under it is Ron Latterell. It takes a bounce to the right along the 30-yard line. He jumps on it on the 30. There's a no-yards penalty, 15 yards for no yards against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And that'll move the ball upfield 15 yards for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as Ron Latterell followed that ball along the 30, and it was a 30-yard punt. And the ball will now be 1st and 10 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Winnipeg 46-yard line. Winnipeg led 21-19 at the half and 28-27 at three-quarter time. And that's what it is right now. 5 minutes, 51 seconds remaining in the ball game. Winnipeg leading 28-27. Leo Lewis, number 29, flanks out to the left. Kenny Payne, number 11, is the quarterback. And the former Iowa Star pitches to Jerry James into the 50, and he's hit hard and driven back to the 49-yard line. Don Southern, number 22, along with Sam Fernandez, 25, both in there to greet Jerry James. Fernandez, number 25, started out with Montreal this year. Former Miami Star has been the defensive kingpin from the secondary for the Cats this season. Second down and 7 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the Winnipeg 49-yard line. They split to left Ev Funson. The right end Pitts is split off 3 yards. Lateral wide to the right, and Lewis pitches on the left side. Back into the slips and falls on the 44-yard line. Gets up and goes with big Bob Minahane. The Boston Kid comes in to drive him back, and that'll make it now a third down situation with long yardage, at least 14 yards. Back to the 43-yard line. That Hamilton line is charging Stoop like they started off in the first quarter yesterday.
That's what it looked like. I thought these fellas would be stiffened up after that night's sleep. They're showing not too many signs of it, the way they're pouring in on each other right now.
It is third down and 14 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on their own 43-yard line. Delvo punting from the 30. And the boot is good and high. Under it is Garnie Henley on the 32. And hit there by Cornell Piper, the defensive tackle, and driven down on the 30. The telecast of this Grey Cup game is coming to you from Toronto.
I'm Mark Lee, and I hope you're enjoying this classic Grey Cup game. We'll be right back.
35-yard boot, and the Cats have a first down. They're trying to hit for the long one here to get down into single-point range. Henley pulls out in motion to the right along with Kuntz. Cosentino rolls out there behind the blocking of Curtin. The pass is good to Henley. Henley on the 35 into the 40 and driven out by Dick Thornton on the 41-yard line. And that's very close to a first down, within a half a yard of the first. Garnie Henley, Port Huron College, formerly a brief stay up there with the Green Bay Packers, now in his third year with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And he's been a sensation this year, scored 12 touchdowns, has played two-way football, one of the very few to go two ways as long as he has. Al Patterson split off to the left. Henley goes in motion left. Rolling out to his left is Cosentino, takes off to the 45, back back into the 50. Hit there by Henry Jansen and dropped on the 55-yard line. Scotty Henley forgot that he could block there, and he stepped out of the way for fear he'd be called. And as a result, it made Cosentino's run even that much better. He did it alone.
I think if he'd awakened up on that, Johnny, that was the last man there. Cosentino had the whole sidelines for another 20, 25 yards on the play.
14 yards was the length of the gain. It's 1st and 10 for the Tiger Cats on the midfield stripe. Now the motion is out to the right. Everybody is in motion, and they hand off to Bobby Kuntz, who's met right at the line of scrimmage. No gain. Bobby Kuntz hit by Herb Gray, a defensive left end. He was the second top rusher in the Eastern Conference, but they've had his number in this one.
On this, I noticed what Winnipeg are doing different from Alouettes. This play worked very well against the Alouettes, who sort of shifted with the flow. But on this one, that Winnipeg line is staying put, and they're just not leaving any holes at all.
Ralph Golston goes in to the offensive backfield. Caleb split wide to the right, Henley to the left. They're going to be throwing out here to Patterson. No good. And Hal Patterson is calling for defensive interference on Norm Rawhouse, but the official rules it off, of course, because the ball was well out of range. 3 minutes, 5 seconds remaining in the ball game. It's 28-27 for Winnipeg.
And the guy that gets credit in calling that play up is Jack Delvaux, number 23. He made Cosentino get rid of that ball long before either he or Patterson were ready on that one.
3 minutes, 4 seconds now remaining in the ball game. Winnipeg leading 28-27. Joe Zuger will be booting from the Hamilton 40-yard line. Latterall and Jansen are back to receive on the Winnipeg 10. Here is Joe Zuger. He's going to be faking off it, going to be throwing off it. It's good to Dick Easterly, and he dropped the ball. He picks it up and he starts to go, but it'll be a dead ball at that point, incomplete, and Hamilton will lose possession. The big gamble by the Hamilton Tiger Cats has backfired, and now the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have a first down at the midfield stripe, and they'll second-guess that one for a while.
Oh, a bad drop by Easterly on that one. He had 5 blockers ahead of him, and the Winnipeg club spread out all over. He was going to go a long way.
There's the
beautiful call there, but just one bad execution.
Well, now it's 28-27 with 2 minutes, 35 seconds remaining. And Hamilton, who had the gamble, they were desperate, had to get down within, say, the 40-yard line to go for a single. Now Winnipeg can kill it out. They're 1st and 10 on the midfield stripe. And Kenny Plain takes full time, handing off to Ron Latterall, who fights into the Hamilton 53-yard line for a gain of close to 2. And Bob Minahane made the tackle. Bob Minahane, who had his problems during the year, in the last half as a defensive right tackle, this former Boston kid, a sophomore, has been outstanding for the Cats. 2nd down and 8 to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And they're taking the full time in each huddle. There's 1:52 remaining. Williams is out to the right with Latterall, number 22 and 31. James, the fullback, in tight. The handoff to Leo Lewis, trying to turn the corner. Hit by Dick Easterly and dropped on the 52-yard line. So now it is 3rd down. And there's at least 7 yards to go as they unpile them down there. And we have 1:39 remaining. Winnipeg leading 28-27. We'll have Gotti Henley and Don Southern back. 3rd down and 7 to go for the Bombers on the Hamilton 52. Again, you see the Blue Bombers taking full time before they come out of there. Delvaux will kick from the Winnipeg 45-yard line. Southern and Henley back on the Hamilton 15. Good snap and the boot. And this comes down to Don Southern on the 15-yard line. He cuts back to his left, looking for a block. Hit there by Ernie Pitts and dropped on the 17-yard line. So we have 1 minute and 12 seconds remaining in the ball game. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Hamilton 17. Now let's take a look at what kind of an umbrella defense Bud Grant will send in here, knowing the law of averages, knowing it'll have to be a long one. Cosentino will go into quarterback that Hamilton club, and there you see them. Bronco Nagurski, number 60, at tackle. They're split out wide. Patterson goes to the right. He's been their key man. And they're throwing on the right side here to Gotti Henley, trying to get away from Nick Miller, cutting back in with a block. He's hit there from behind by Sherwin Thorson, dropped on the 24-yard line. 56 seconds remaining in the ball game. And Thurston, the big star from Iowa, goes in there to make a key tackle for the Hamilton, at least for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, on the Hamilton Tiger Cat receiver. 45 seconds remaining as the clock is stopped. And now the Bombers have too many men on the field. They get Leo Lewis out of there just in time. Caleb in tight. And Frank Cosentino rolling right. Chase has to stop. He's throwing a long one to Patterson, and it is, he got it, a sensational catch. Patterson on the 46-yard line. Hal Patterson made a sensational catch, beating Dick Thornton on the play, and now the Cats are right back alive, and we have an injury. 28 seconds remaining in the ball game. It's 28-27 for Winnipeg. 39 yards was the length. We have another player injured away down back on the 24-yard line. A Hamilton Tiger Cat player injured back on the Hamilton 24 that suddenly they just spot him back there. Dick Easterly is also shaken up, and he comes off the field. And it is Hardeman Curitan for the Tiger Cats, who is now hobbling back to the huddle. And the play is stopped, and a player, because of a player's injury, he has to leave. But in this case, two of them are hurt, and therefore only one has to leave. 28 seconds remaining. It's 1st and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Winnipeg 47-yard line. And 30,000 fans, it looks like now, are all standing up here at the CNE, heading for a typical Grey Cup finish. 28-27 Winnipeg. 28 seconds remaining. 1st and 10 Hamilton on the Winnipeg 47-yard line. Flankers with Golston and Caleb wide to the left. Cosentino going back to throw, looking to that long sideline to Gonnie Henley, and it is no good. He could not touch it as it was in to touch anyway. Covered by Kenny Plain. There's now 14 seconds remaining in the ball game, and the clock stops because it was a pass play incomplete. Are they going to try a long field goal? Are they going to try to boot a single? Are they going to gamble that they can get another play plus a single-point attempt with only 14 seconds to go? Winnipeg has Kenny Plain and Henry Jansen back. Joe Zuger is on the Hamilton 50-yard line. He would need 60 yards to get to the goal line if he isn't going to fake. He's kicking for a single point. It bounces down on the 10-yard line, rolls back to Kenny Plain, and he is hit on the 2-yard line. There's a no-yards penalty. No yards against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and there's no time left on the clock, but the gun has not sounded. The gun has not sounded to end the ball game. Although the clock shows no time remaining, the 1-minute flag is being waved, and it seems to me this game is over, but there's no gun. We should get an answer here in a moment. There's the gun. It's all over. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have defeated the Hamilton Tiger Cats by a score of 28-27, and there's a fight on the field, but it's only for the football, and Farrell Funston comes up with it. And the 1962 Grey Cup Classic is finally over. The Hamilton Tiger Cats coming on surge, trying to get within single-point range to gain at least a tie, but they fell short of the mark.